subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Chapter 1 Lu Liang Douluo Continent. Tiando City. 20 kilometers away from the city gate, there is a large mountain. There are many architectural facilities in the mountain, majestic teaching buildings, lush back mountain forests, and a rippling lake at the foot of the mountain. Everything in the mountains is beautiful, especially when the sun sets and the sky is filled with sunset. Against the backdrop of the red clouds in the west, whether it is the lake at the foot of the mountain, the lush mountain forests, or the thousands-meter-high mountains, they all give people a sense of wonder, a feeling of paradise. The Tiando Royal Academy is built around this mountain. It is the largest academy for advanced soul masters in the Tiando Empire. All previous deans of the academy have been served by emperors of the Tiando Empire. At this moment, at the entrance of Tiando Royal Academy, there was a lot of traffic and a lot of people, welcoming and sending father's love and mother's love. Today is the registration day for the opening of Tiando Royal Academy, so it is extremely lively inside and outside the academy. The people coming and going are all elegant people wearing luxurious clothes, accompanied by 3 or 2 attendants, holding their children to sign up. Tiando Royal Academy has 2 conditions for recruiting students. The first condition is that students must have a noble title. The second condition is that if the martial arts talent is extraordinary or special, even civilians can join with the title of top student. Being a top student does not mean being particularly outstanding, but rather giving special treatment. If a senior leader of the college takes a fancy to a civilian's martial arts talent, he will issue a certificate of being a top student to that civilian. Just 5 meters away from the entrance of the college, there are 2 tables. 2 teachers are sitting at the tables to register the students who have come to register. There were long queues in the 2 teams. The people queuing up to sign up were all noble children. They were dressed gorgeously and talked and laughed with the aura and etiquette of the aristocracy. However, there was a black-haired young man who was out of tune with all the nobles. He was wearing simple blue clothes and stood quietly in the middle of the 2 teams, with his hands in his pockets, looking very heroic. After staring at the plaque with the 6 characters, Tiando Royal Academy, written on it for a few seconds at the entrance of the academy, a faint smile appeared on the handsome face of the black-haired young man. Finally, I found it. This is the Tiando Royal Academy. It is exactly as described in the original book. The academy was established in the mountains. I guess there will be a lot of interesting things happening in the grove of the academy, right? While thinking about it, the black-haired young man had already moved his eyes away from the plaque at the door and looked around. Such a lively atmosphere, as well as the scene of numerous students reporting to the school, could not help but recall the memories of when he first entered college. How could the young man have imagined that a few months ago, at the beginning of his college life, he would actually travel through time? Suddenly missing at school, I don't know what kind of commotion it will cause, whether there will be any big news, and will my parents be sad because of my disappearance? Well, Lu Bao sighed sadly. He had thought about time travel, but when the time travel accident happened to him, it was still a little hard to accept. After all, if you come to a new world wearing a suit, it means that you in the original world have disappeared. The most painful thing is your loved ones, right? Sighing secretly again, Lu Bao put away the sad look on his face. He traveled to Douluo Continent 3 months ago. He had tried various methods, but he could not find a way back to Blue Star. A mobile phone originally accompanied him to Douluo Continent, and the mobile phone turned into a magical system that can speak human language. Unexpectedly, the system suddenly malfunctioned, and it self-destructed just after giving out the novice gift package. Without the system that the mobile phone has become, it is equivalent to completely cutting off contact with Blue Star. If you want to go back, unless you have the ability to travel through dimensional space at will, all worries and efforts will be in vain. Instead of thinking about how to return to Blue Star every day, it is better to make peace with it now that it is here, become a soul master in this world, practice hard, maybe become a god in the future, and experience the fun of treating a world as your own backyard. Those who are familiar with the original plot and the system will receive a gift package for beginners. With these 2 conditions in mind, Lu Bao's desire to cultivate to the realm of gods is not just a wishful thinking. What he needs is enough development time. When a human from another world travels to Douluo continent, he not only retains his soul, but also his original body. Lu Haoli is now 18 years old. Regardless of his age or the energy contained in his body, it is impossible for him to awaken to fight. The power of the world. Fortunately, before the system failed and exploded, he gave him a gift package for newbies, which contained a random level Soul Master package. After using it, Lu Bao issued a level 30 Soul Master package, which included a level 30 Soul Power Pack, 3 Soul Rings, and a Martial Soul Awakening card. After using the Martial Soul Awakening card, no powerful martial soul was awakened, because this item can only awaken a certain part of the body to become one's own martial soul. To Lu Baoyang's regret, the body part awakened by the Wuhuan Awakening card was not the stick, but his own shadow. Otherwise, he would definitely stab Douluo in the name of Stick Douluo. After awakening his shadow into a martial spirit, Lu Bao then used the 30-level Soul Power Pack and 3 Soul Rings from the Novice Gift Package to be promoted to a 35th level Soul Master in one day. 3 Soul Rings are like God-given Soul Rings. After absorption, they will condense into a Soul Ring skill and Soul Ring life that is most suitable for the Soul Master. Obtaining martial souls, soul rings, and soul power is equivalent to the birth of the power system of the Douluo world. The whole body is nourished by soul power, and the physical strength becomes even better after the transformation of soul rings and martial souls. Lu Baoli took advantage of his whim and hid in the outer area of the Star Do Forest for 3 months to practice. At the beginning, he didn't have any fighting skills, nor was he proficient in soul ring skills or martial arts. Whenever he encountered a low-level soul beast, he would put on a Wing Chun stance to scare the soul beast, only to be chased by the soul beast. Fortunately, Huang Tian paid off. Relying on his understanding of shadow abilities from various film and television works and novels he has watched on Douluo Star, and after 3 months of adapting, Lu Baoyang is now very proficient in the shadow martial arts, and has a thorough understanding of the soul skills conferred by the 3 soul rings. He has a clear understanding of the advantages and disadvantages of the shadow martial spirit. First of all, the advantages of shadow martial arts are very obvious and have unlimited possibilities. As long as there is light, any object can have a shadow. It can affect any object by controlling or attacking or assisting the shadow of the object. This is the infinite possibility of the shadow martial spirit. It can move towards the control system, assist department, attack system, or any soul master's development direction to practice. After cultivating to a higher level, the shadow martial spirit can even use shadows to create millions of shadow puppets, and one person can form an army, creating a shadow army similar to the one in the adventures of Jackie Chan. The shortcoming of the shadow martial spirit is also obvious, that is light. In general, the stronger the light, the stronger the shadow. Without the existence of light, shadow would not be born. In the fantasy world, shadows belong to darkness, but they are not the same as darkness. They have more of a superior subordinate relationship. Under the effect of soul skills that block all light and leave only darkness, the shadow martial soul will be suppressed by the darkness and become a useless martial soul that cannot be used. Of course, darkness is the biggest shadow. If the shadow martial soul can evolve into dark attributes, this shortcoming will be easily solved. While he was proficient in using the shadow martial arts, Lu Bao was also paying attention to the current direction of the plot. There were still more than 3 years left before the Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite Tournament mentioned in the original work. In other words, Tang San is only about 11 years old and has not graduated from Notting College yet, so the opportunity for fairy grass is still there. As a soul master grows older, his cultivation will become relatively slow. He traveled to the Douluo continent with an 18-year-old body, which means that Lu Haoli started training at the age of 18, while other soul masters started training at the age of 6. There is a 12-year training time gap between the two. No matter compared with any of the geniuses mentioned in the original work, such talent is extremely poor. If you can get the assistance of fairy grass, your body will not only be greatly transformed, but your cultivation speed will also be improved. In this way, the 12 years of cultivation time gap can be made up Taking the fairy grass will have countless benefits in the future. Therefore, if conditions permit, Lu Baoyang does not want to give up the opportunity of jelly grass to others. I came to Tiando Royal Academy to prepare for the fairy grass project. The original book mentioned that the fairy grass grows in the Ice and Fire Eyes, and the Ice and Fire Eyes are in Douluo's lair, somewhere in the Sunset Forest. With his current popularity and strength, it was impossible for Lu Baobao to meet Douluo with his own abilities, and naturally, he would not be able to deal with Douluo head-on. When he entered the fantasy world for the first time and knew nothing about fantasy things, it was impossible for him to rush into the Sunset Forest and be attacked by a group of soul beasts, and it was even more impossible for him to risk the fatal Ice and Fire Eyes without any preparation. Lu Baoyang's idea is to establish a good relationship with Douluo's granddaughter Douluo first, and after he has a certain understanding of things like Sunset Forest and poison, he can then rely on his relationship with Douluo to get close to Douluo so as to obtain the magic grass. The success rate and safety will be greatly improved. Douluo is a genius at Tiando Royal Academy. If you want to get in touch with her, the best way is to join Tiando Royal Academy and become her teammate. Chapter 2 Tiando Royal Academy 1. According to the original description, Douluo did not recognize the Ice and Fire Eye Spring, and he did not even recognize the fairy grass and genius treasure growing on the edge of the spring. However, the two extreme auras emitted by the spring water were able to suppress the backlash of snake venom in Douluo's body, allowing him to it is easier to practice. Therefore, Douluo had already divided the area near the Ice and Fire Eyes as his own territory and regarded it as a treasure. Of course, what belongs to you must be protected. To this end, Douluo set up in formation formed by the green phosphorus snake venom in the area near the Ice and Fire Eyes. Even if a strong man at the Contra level breaks into the poison formation, he will be able to protect it after a while. If you are not careful, it will turn into pus in an instant. Lu Baoli's soul power is only level 35. As a soul master who doesn't understand poison, how could he dare to break into the poison array set up by Douluo? He just came to a fantasy world without a powerful force to back him up. How dare you provoke Douluo? Since you don't dare to provoke Douluo, let's start with his granddaughter Douluo. Join Tiando Royal Academy, become Douluo's teammate, and establish a good relationship with Douluo. Not only can you get news about Douluo, but you can also get a clearer understanding of the knowledge related to Jade Phosphorus Snake Venom. Secondly, Tiando Royal Academy is the Soul Master Academy with the richest training resources. Joining the academy can provide better resources for rapid growth. This is also the reason why Lu Baoyang, as a commoner, wanted to go to an aristocratic academy. Today happens to be the day when the college recruits new students. Along the way, Lu Baohao found out that Tiando Royal Academy had two conditions for recruiting students. The first is that one must be of noble origin. The second is to hold a certificate of outstanding student issued by the senior management of the college. Lu Badai did not meet these two conditions, so he could only try his luck on this trip to see if he could meet the three major education committees mentioned in the original work. Meng Xinji, the chief education committee member, Bai Baoshan, the second education committee member, and Jilin, the third education committee member. If he could meet one of the three, Lu Baoyang firmly believed that with his unique shadow martial spirit, he would definitely win the favor of the three of them and obtain the title of top student. Lu Liang thought of a way, which was to make a big fuss at the entrance of the college to lure the three education committee members out, so that he could avoid the trouble of the registration process and directly meet and talk with the most authoritative people. Seeing his ability, the three education committee members may directly grant him the qualification of a top student. Looking past the team beside him, Lu Baohai immediately gave up the idea of making a scene at the entrance of the college. He had no money, no power, and no strength. Most of the people who come and go here are from noble families. If you don't say whether you can attract the attention of the three education committees before making trouble here, you will definitely attract the hostility of many nobles. If he meets a powerful noble, he will be done for. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Baobao put away the condescending mentality of a time traveler. Not all outstanding talents are equivalent to having a death-free gold medal. At this moment, what he needs is a stable time and place for development, and his current strength is not enough to have the capital to be unruly. After finding a queue and lining up peacefully, about an hour later, it was finally Lu Haoli's turn to sign up. Lu Haoli took a step forward and came to the middle-aged teacher who was responsible for registering the students. He smiled slightly and said politely, "Hello, teacher. My name is Lu Haoli, and I am here to register." After listening to the visitor's introduction, the middle-aged teacher's first sight fell on the other person's clothes. After looking up and down, the middle-aged teacher's lazy expression suddenly turned serious. "Looking at your attire, you don't seem to be an aristocrat. You should have understood the college's admissions conditions before signing up, right?" "I understand," Lu Haoli responded. "I am a civilian." "Commoner," the middle-aged teacher was confused. "So, you have a certificate for top students? Which teacher in the college gave it to you?" "I have no certificate," Lu Haoli said truthfully. "But my martial spirit is very rare in the mainland and is a very special existence. Such a unique martial spirit should be qualified to become a top student." The middle-aged teacher frowned. "What is your martial spirit?" Lu Haoli smiled. "Shadow." "Shadow? The martial spirit is one's own shadow? There really aren't many precedents for this in the mainland." The middle-aged teacher touched his chin and said thoughtfully, "The shadow is not some natural element, but a natural phenomenon. Elements can become martial spirit. Can a phenomenon like this also become a martial spirit? Compared with other martial spirits, what is unique about your shadow martial spirit?" Lu Haoli responded, "The shadow martial spirit is an all-around martial spirit. It can control the enemy's shadow to develop into the control system. It can also assist the shadows of friendly forces to develop into the auxiliary system, and it can also use agility and attack system souls." The master's line. "My soul skills can control enemies and assist teammates. On the battlefield, I am a control soul master and an auxiliary soul master at the same time." "Oh." The middle-aged teacher was obviously interested. "How old are you? What is your innate soul power? And what level of soul power is it now?" 18 years old. Now he is a 35th level soul master. Lu Haoli paused for a while and said again, "Innate 7th level soul power." "Innate level 7? The middle-aged teacher looked at Lu Haoli with a change in his eyes. "The 7th-level innate soul power talent is already very good on the mainland. He started to practice the 7th-level soul power at the age of 6, and it will increase by 2 or 3 levels every year. In terms of strength, you should be able to reach level 35 soul power at the age of 18. Your talent is pretty good." Hearing this, Lu Haoli suddenly felt happy and asked, "Then am I a candidate for your top student?" "This." A look of embarrassment appeared on the middle-aged teacher's face, and he shook his head. "I can't make the decision. How about you write your personal information on the information card first, and I will go to the college education committee to help you apply." "Look." At this moment, a sudden voice sounded. "No, teacher's son. Leave him to me." Lu Haoli and the middle-aged teacher looked towards the sound at the same time. The person who spoke was a young teacher who looked about 30 years old. When the voice fell, the young teacher was still far away. But when Lu Haoli looked at him, his figure had already appeared in front of him, and the flash of his figure brought about a series of powerful fluctuations in soul power. After several months of training, Lu Haoli had a clear understanding of martial spirits and soul skills, which naturally made him much more sensitive to the perception of soul power. This aura of soul power that hid his face was enough to prove that the young teacher who appeared in front of him was very powerful. At least, he was more powerful than any teacher or noble present, and he seemed to have more say than the middle-aged teacher. "Kinming?" The middle-aged teacher's embarrassed expression suddenly improved, and he slightly saluted the young teacher who came in front of him. "Teacher Qin, why are you here?" Kinming also treated the middle-aged teacher with corresponding courtesy and said, "Teacher's son, excuse me. I want to see how the college is recruiting new students this year, so I'm here." "Oh." The middle-aged teacher suddenly realized, "It seems that you have come to check the status of the freshman registration in the past 2 years. Why? You haven't found your favorite student yet." Kinming shook his head regretfully. "The students who joined the academy in the past 2 years are all outstanding, but there are no auxiliary soul masters that I want." The middle-aged teacher asked curiously, With the assistance of Yi Lingling's Jiuxin Haidang, the Tiando Royal Academy team, headed by Yu Tianheng, should have enough team endurance. The martial arts and soul rings of other students are also the best configuration and such an excellent team. Can't they meet your requirements? Qin Ming shook his head again. There are still 3 years left before the Continental Advanced Soul Master Elite Competition. Drawing lessons from the last competition, I found that it is not enough for a team to have only Yi Lingling as an auxiliary. Although Jiuxin Haitang's healing ability is overbearing, it is only healing. If you want to leapfrog and defeat the group of opponents with terrifyingly high soul power in Wahunian Academy or Star Luo Empire Academy, you must find someone who can improve the team's combat ability. An auxiliary soul master. For the past 2 years, I have been looking for such auxiliary soul masters in the academy. Unfortunately, they either have certain flaws in their martial souls or have side effects in their auxiliary soul skills, or their soul power is too low and their talents are not enough to compete with them. Compare Tianheng and others. Want to find a suitable auxiliary soul master? After listening to Qin Ming's explanation, the middle-aged teacher suddenly became enlightened and glanced at Lu Baobao. So, you are interested in his shadow martial soul? Qin Ming's eyes also fell on Lu Baoyang. Yes. He is born with 7 levels of soul power and reaches level 35 at the age of 18. There may be a certain talent gap between Lu Baoyang and Tian Heng and others, but if his soul skills, if the auxiliary effect benefits the entire team, this talent gap will not matter. Chapter 3 Tiando Royal Academy 2. Facing the looks from the 2 teachers, Lu Baohai didn't show much emotion on the surface, but he was secretly happy in his heart. He remembered that the character Qin Ming was mentioned in the original work. There are 7 young students in Tiando Royal Academy who are extremely outstanding in terms of martial soul quality and soul power talent. They are Yu Tianheng, Dugu Yin, Asluo, Yu Feng, Shiremo, Shi, and Yi Lingling. These 7 people form the first team of Tiando Royal Academy. And this team is the most outstanding team of young soul masters in Tiando Royal Academy. And it is also the team led by Qin Ming. After listening to the conversation between Qin Ming and the middle-aged teacher, Lu Baoyang was almost certain that his plan to join Tiando Royal Academy had been realized. Not only that, if you perform well, you might be able to directly join the first team of Tiando Royal Academy as an auxiliary soul master. At that time, we can learn more about Biphosphorus Snake Venom and Dugabo from Dugu Yin, or use Dugu Yin as a springboard to meet Dugabo. Then, the plan to obtain the grass jelly will become a matter of course. Your name is Lu Baoan, right? Qin Ming said directly. I heard the conversation you had with Teacher Sun just now. You said that the special thing about your shadow martial spirit is that it is an all-powerful martial spirit, and your soul skills can control enemies and assist teammates. I can imagine controlling the enemy's shadow to achieve a control effect. But I can't imagine how your shadow spirit can assist teammates. Lu Baohao put aside all his fantasies about future plans and answered truthfully. My first soul skill is called shadow locking. It can lock shadows within a certain range. The target whose shadow is locked will have no way to escape, no matter how hard it is used. No matter how I hide, I can easily find him. My second soul skill is called shadow attack. It can turn the target locked into the shadow state into a shadow state and gain the ability to freely shuttle in the shadow area for half an hour. The distance is limited to 100 meters. During the shadow state, it can block the enemy's attack mental power detection. Speed and attack attributes are increased by 50%. The shadow state can also be immune to any kind of physical attack, but it is not immune to soul attack and abnormal conditions caused by elemental attributes such as paralysis, burns, frostbite, and poisoning. After hearing this, Qin Ming and the middle-aged teacher looked at each other and saw the look of surprise on each other's faces. Before Lu Baoli introduced the effect of the third soul skill, Qin Ming was already excited and allowed his teammates to move freely in the shadow state for half an hour. During this period, they could freely shuttle in the shadow area within 100 meters, and their attack and speed attributes were increased by 100%. 50? No matter which team, once assisted by this soul skill, it will become a shadow army. By shielding mental power detection and the shadow state of coming and going without a trace, it can kill people invisible. This is simply a very offensive auxiliary soul skill. It can be said that this soul skill exists for assassination. If this auxiliary soul skill could be used on a well-trained army, wouldn't this army be invincible and unbeatable? Shadow attack? If the shadow wants to launch a sneak attack, who can prevent it? Qin Ming pondered for a moment, suppressing the shock in his heart, and the look in Lu Baoan's eyes changed obviously. Lu Baoan smiled and said, "Teacher Qin, my second soul skill can improve the team's combat effectiveness. It should be the auxiliary effect you want, right?" Qin Ming didn't reply. He looked at the middle-aged teacher and said seriously, "Teacher Sun, leave Lu Bao to me. After I have settled him, I will apply to the Ming Shinji Education Committee for a quota of outstanding students. I think this way an outstanding talent the 3 education committee members will never refuse." "Okay, I'll trouble you." The middle-aged teacher picked up a data card from the table and handed it to Qin Ming, then told Lu Baoyan, "Just follow Teacher Qin, and you will listen to everything in the academy from now on. Teacher Qin's arrangement will be fine." Lu Baoyang nodded and followed Qin Ming into Tiando Royal Academy. The moment he stepped into the entrance of the college, what caught Lu Bao's eyes was a spacious forest road, which was made of stone slabs and lined with dense trees on both sides. After following Qin Ming for some distance, Lu Baoli came to a stone staircase. The direction of the stone steps is towards the top of the mountain. Teaching buildings, dormitories, and various facilities are built in the mountains. Walking straight up the stone steps and breathing in the fresh air, Lu Baoli recalled the memory of climbing mountains with his friends when he was at Douluo Star. He was filled with emotion. He was afraid that he would have to live in Douluo continent for the rest of his life. Father, mother, friends, everything on Douluo Star has nothing to do with me. A new life is about to begin. It's getting late. I'll take you to the dormitory building first and give you a dormitory. From today on, you will be a student of Tiando Royal Academy. While walking, Qin Ming was also making arrangements for Lu Baoli's future life at Tiando Royal Academy. The dormitories in the college are all single rooms. You are a top student, and all living expenses will be provided by the college. Bao Bao, I hope you practice hard and bring glory to the college in the future." Lu Bao nodded. "I will." Qin Ming continued, "I will explain the rules and regulations of the college and the division of classes in the college to you one by one tomorrow. When you adapt to the life in the college, I will arrange you to the Tiando level class as soon as possible, and then let me introduce the 7 members of the first team of Tiando Royal Academy." Lu Baoyang nodded again. He knew from the original work that Tiando Royal Academy divided classes and teachers according to soul power levels. From low to high, they were Tianwei level, Tianji level, and Tiando level. Regardless of whether they are students or teachers, those who can be classified as Tiando level are undoubtedly the most outstanding beings in the academy. Their cultivation talents may not be considered geniuses, but the team fighting ability exerted by the shadow martial arts is definitely beyond the capabilities of any genius. Incomparable. Okay, this is the dormitory building. After walking halfway up the stone steps, standing on the mountainside are 2 buildings that are more gorgeous than high-end hotels. Qin Ming introduced. The division of the dormitory building is very simple. The one on the left is the male dormitory, and the one on the right is the female dormitory. The division of the dormitory is also determined by grade. The highest floor of the dormitory building is the residence of Tiando level students. In order, the highest level of heaven, the smallest level of heaven. Lu Hao was shocked by the 2 dormitories in front of him that were comparable to high-end hotels and asked curiously, "Can top students also live in such luxurious dormitories?" Qin Ming nodded and said, "That's right. In a sense, the treatment of top students is better than that of nobles because everything is provided by the college. Not only that, they can also receive a certain gold soul coin subsidy every month. If you bring honor to the academy, your salary will be doubled again." "Is the academy under the jurisdiction of the empire?" Lu Baohao asked in a low voice. "I have received so many benefits from the academy. Doesn't it mean that after graduating from the academy, I must join the empire?" Qin Ming shook his head. "Not necessarily. The empire will not forcefully recruit any soul master. It will only give the soul masters various unimaginable benefits. Accepting these benefits is equivalent to joining the empire. If you don't accept it, the empire will not embarrass you. Any soul master, After graduation, you can choose to join the Empire, or you can choose to remain neutral. However, you are a talent trained by the Empire and have been deeply favored by the Empire. If you do something that is disgraceful to the Empire in the future, your reputation will definitely be affected. Whether you want to join the Empire or not, these are things you don't need to consider yet. You should now consider how to use the resources provided by the Academy to quickly become stronger. Come on, I will take you to register first. After completing all the registration procedures, Lu Bao was assigned to room 6 on the highest floor of the dormitory. Regardless of whether it is a boys' or girls' dormitory, the top floor will always be occupied by Tiando-level students whose soul power has reached level 30 or above. According to Qin Ming, De Yin, and Yi Lingling from the first team of Tiando Royal Academy both live on the top floor of the girls' dormitory. Yu Tianheng, Osluo, Yu Feng, and Shiremo Shimo live on the top floor of the men's dormitory, respectively. Live in rooms 1 to 5. Lu Bao arrived later, so he stayed in room 6. The remaining rooms are the residences of other Tiando-level students. Qin Ming first took Lu Baoli to visit the teaching building on the top of the mountain, and then took him to the dormitory building halfway up the mountain to look for dormitories. Room number 6 on the highest floor of the men's dormitory is easy to find. The room numbers increased from left to right. Walking straight to the left along the corridor, Lu Bao found that every dormitory he passed was very dark. It was night now, and there were no lights in each dormitory, only the ones in the corridor. The lights are on, Qin Ming said. The college playground and most of the mimic training grounds are closed before 8 o'clock. Before 8 o'clock, everyone is practicing hard, so no one can be seen in the dormitory. Lu Baoan was slightly surprised. Can those noble students be so diligent in their cultivation? The aristocratic students who live in the upper floors are all geniuses of the academy, so they are naturally different from the students on other floors. Qin Ming explained, geniuses also need to work hard to practice. In the world of soul masters, geniuses are the ones who are most afraid of being surpassed. Okay, this is room 6, your dormitory. Arriving at the door of room 6, Qin Ming took out his key and opened the door. Walking into the room and turning on the light, Lu Bao was shocked by the scene in the room. It was a spacious room, covering an area of 50 square meters. There was a large bed with a quilt on the bed and a cabinet beside the bed. The head is the wall, and the end of the bed is the smooth floor. Everything is so clean. Lu Baoli thought to himself that this room was more like an apartment than a dormitory. In Douluo Star, it was at least equipped with 2 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen, with all kinds of furniture. Damn it, Tiando Royal Academy is indeed extraordinary. A few months ago, I was sleeping in a cave outside the Stardow Forest. Now that I live in such a luxurious dormitory, will I really not be punished by God? Lu Baoli sat on the bed and bounced a few times. The bed was very elastic, just like a trampoline. It could sleep 3 people, and it was very comfortable to rock. From now on, you have to wear school uniforms in the academy. This is the rule. Qin Ming put the school uniforms on the table, walked out of the room, and called, "Bad boy, please come out first, and I will introduce you to the neighbors." Chapter 4 Tiando Royal Academy 3. After leaving the room, Lu Baoli followed Qin Ming and walked towards the far left side of the corridor. The dormitory to the left of room 6 is rooms 1 to 5. According to Qin Ming's introduction, the 5 most outstanding people from Tiando Royal Academy live in it, namely Yu Tianheng, Osluo, Yu Feng, and Sure Grinding and Graphite. The dormitory on the right side of room 6 is occupied by other students who have reached level 30 or above, including members of the 2nd and 3rd teams of Tiando Royal Academy. However, they have not returned from practicing in the mimic area or playground, and the rooms are all empty. This is room number 1. When he came to the end of the corridor on the left, Qin Ming introduced, the person living in room number 1 is Yu Tianheng. He is the captain of the first team. I will introduce it to you tomorrow. Lu Baoyang nodded and continued to follow Qin Ming to room 2. The person who lives in room 2 is Oslo, who is also a member of the first team, your future teammate. Room 3 is occupied by Yu Feng, and rooms 4 and 5 are occupied by brothers Shiremo and Sure respectively. As for room 7, there are captains or members of other academy teams. They are all level 30. The above soul masters have considerable talents and strength. Walking along the corridor to the right, every time he passes a room, Qin Ming will briefly explain some information about the owner of the room. At the same time, he will also remind Lu Bao not to argue with other students, because they are all nobles, and top students will go there. Provoking aristocrats is undoubtedly a recipe for anger. Lu Haoli knew that he was not strong enough and had no strong support behind him, so he really shouldn't provoke those nobles. However, if it is someone else who bullies him, no matter what noble he is, he will be beaten without fail. He would rather be hunted down than be suppressed by the nobles. If he really caused a big trouble, he would run away, hide and thrive, or seek refuge in the Wuhuan Palace. Anyway, there is no end to the road, and Lu Liang did not want to live in this world with the idea of taking a step back to open up the world. Okay, I'll introduce you to this tonight. Wait until Tianheng and the others come back before getting to know them. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. After saying that, Qin Ming flashed and walked downstairs within a few steps, disappearing in the direction of the playground. Lu Baoli returned to room 6, closed the door, and lay down on the comfortable big bed to rest. After 3 months in Douluo continent, this was the first time he slept on a bed and the first time he lived in a place where people lived. Quietly staring at the chandelier hanging from the ceiling, Lu Baobao missed the life on the Douluo Star again. Every time he lay down, he would turn on his phone, listen to music, browse short videos, and browse some information. Now there are no mobile phones, no computers, and no information technology. For Douluo Star people, not using mobile phones for a few days is equivalent to being unable to communicate and contact friends and family, which is equivalent to being isolated from the world. Now that I have not touched my mobile phone or computer for 3 months, I feel like I am really disconnected from Douluo Star. Time travel. People will die in an accident and leave this world. Although I didn't die, I also left the original world. So time travel is considered an accident? Am I already dead in the original world? Completely disappeared. With a long sigh, Lu Baolu threw away all the worries in his heart, stood up, sat cross-legged on the bed, closed his eyes and concentrated, and began to meditate and cultivate his soul power. None of this was a dream. Lu Baobao knew that he had indeed traveled through time. This was the Douluo continent, a world where the weak and the strong preyed on the weak and strength was paramount. Therefore, he must practice hard and continuously enhance his strength. Only with strength can your words have weight. With strength, others have to think twice if they want to kill you. With strength, not to mention getting a certain beautiful woman, even the beautiful woman's mother might be able to get it. Evening, playground. The 7 people headed by Yu Tianheng sat on the ground and listened with surprise to Qin Ming's description of recruiting new recruits into the army. Their expressions changed several times. Only when they finally heard that the newcomer named Lu Bao was already living in room 6 did everyone raise questions. Teacher, did you really find a new person to take Lingling's place? Dugian looked at Yi Lingling reluctantly. What about Lingling? Yinzi, calm down first. Qin Ming's eyes showed a deep light. I'm talking about adding a new member, not replacing anyone. Lingling is still an indispensable auxiliary soul master in our team. However, although Lingling's Jiuxin Haidang martial spirit has terrifying healing capabilities, it cannot increase various attributes for the team. This is the disadvantage of the 9 hearts and Haidang martial spirit, which you should know. Yu Tianheng said, Teacher, we know the limitations of Jiuxin Haidang Wuhuan. Only the healing ability is indeed the flaw of our team. At the same time, isn't the healing ability also our strength? With Lingling's treatment, we can have nothing to worry about. Battle. I agree with the captain. Yu Feng continued. The fighting styles of the 7 of us are all based on Lingling's 9-hearted begonia martial spirit. With Lingling here, we can fight freely. If Lingling's position is if we switch to other auxiliary system soul masters, doesn't it mean that we have to completely change our previous fighting style? That's right. Dugian agreed. I don't think there is anything wrong with our past fighting style. With a team of soul masters of the same level, we will definitely be able to defeat any opponent. Qin Ming snorted coldly. This cold snort made Dugian feel his heart contract instantly, and he immediately restrained himself and did not dare to speak. The strong shock also showed a bit of horror on the faces of Yu Tianheng and others. Okay, let me ask you. If our team's current cooperation is really impeccable, then why did we lose to Star Luo Empire Academy in the elite competition 2 years ago? Is it because the opponent's soul power is higher than ours? No. In a team battle, as long as the difference in soul power levels is not too big, a weaker team can defeat a strong soul master team with the excellent cooperation between teammates. This is the difference between a team competition and an individual competition, Qin Ming said with certainty. The main reason why we will lose is that the fighting method is too monotonous. Lingling's 9 hearts and begonia can still be effective against the opponent we fought for the first time, but we met the same opponent twice. The other party will know the threat of Ling Ling and the terror of Jiu Xan Haidang, so they can defeat her first. When Ling Ling is forced to leave, the person you rely on will also be lost, and all the fighting styles formed by Ling Ling will become a mess. Now, your team seems to be almost perfect, but in fact, the combat ability is too weak, and you still don't understand. Is that so? If you remain stubborn and don't make changes, you will lose miserably sooner or later. You will also lose miserably in the elite competition 3 years later. After hearing Qin Ming's words, Yu Tianheng and the others lowered their heads and did not dare to refute. If others dared to belittle their team like this, Yu Tianheng and others would definitely scold him back. But the person who hurt them was Qin Ming, which made them not only convinced, but even listen seriously. The 7 Yu Tianhengs are all rebellious people, but they only respect Qin Ming, not only because Qin Ming is their professional instructor, but also because of his strength. Qin Ming is 33 years old this year, but his soul power has exceeded level 60, and he is already a respected soul emperor. According to the records of Wuhuan Palace, Qin Ming is the 2nd youngest soul emperor in history. This is exactly what Yu Tianheng and the other 7 want to pursue. Looking at his teammates, Yu Tianheng motioned them to stop talking with his eyes and said to Qin Ming, "Teacher, we understand. We welcome the newcomer named Lu Bao to join the team. There is another auxiliary soul master. With the addition of Lu Bao, our team may really become perfect. However, I hope that you will not neglect Ling Ling in the future fighting spirit. I hope that you will not reduce the number of Ling Ling's appearances just because you want Lu Bao to perform more." Qin Ming patted Yu Tianheng's shoulder and said with a smile, "Tianheng and everyone, I can understand your desire to fight for Ling Ling. As I said, the 2 auxiliary departments, Ling Ling and Lu Bao, appear against different opponents. Under special circumstances, their 2 auxiliary systems can even appear at the same time. I know the importance of Ling Ling, so how can I ignore her? Aren't you worried that Lu Bao has something to do with the teacher, that the teacher will take special care of him?" Qin Ming promised, "Don't worry. Lu Bao is just a genius I met by chance. In addition to the newly established teacher-student relationship between him and me, apart from the relationship, there is no kinship. I don't have any selfish motives. Some of them are just to make the team more perfect. Some of them are just to help you go further in the next elite competition. I believe that Lu Bao's joining will make the team more perfect, make you stronger." Duge Yin frowned. "Teacher, you praise Na Lu Bao so highly. If by then he is not as useful to the team as you said, I will tell him to get out immediately regardless of whether you agree or not." Qin Ming chuckled lightly. "Yinzi, with your mentality, I can almost guarantee that if it is a one-on-one duel, you may not be able to defeat him. Lu Liang is not just an auxiliary soul master as you imagine. He can enter the academy with the qualifications of a top student proves that you have a unique talent in martial arts." "What's unique?" Duge Yin said disdainfully. "Isn't it just a support department? What's unique about it?" "Teacher, you said I may not be able to beat him in a one-on-one duel? I'm a control department. Can I still win? An auxiliary system that has no power to restrain a chicken?" Qin Ming smiled and shook his head. "I can't say for sure." "Okay, I'll have a soul battle with him when we meet tomorrow. I want to see what's unique about his auxiliary department." A hint of pride flashed in Duge Yan's cold eyes. "Ling Ling, tomorrow Sister Yinzi will give him a good beating for you. Let's see if he still dares to steal your auxiliary position." Yi Lingling was naturally moved when she saw everyone speaking for her. At the same time, She didn't want the newcomer to be hostile to her teammates because of herself. It's getting late. You all should go back to the dormitory and rest quickly. Kinming looked at you Tianheng and asked, Tianheng, you are the captain. When you see Lu Haoli in the dormitory later, you must behave like a captain. Take good care of others. Before you Tianheng could agree, Oslo showed a cunning smile and responded first, Teacher, don't worry. We will definitely take good care of him. Hearing Oluo put the emphasis on the words take good care of, Kinming naturally understood Oluo's meaning and advised, Leopard teacher, please don't think that Lu Bao is very important just because he is an auxiliary department. It's easy to bully, otherwise, you will make a fool of yourself. Don't blame the teacher for not reminding you. Yu Feng put his hand on Oslo's shoulder and smiled sinisterly. Teacher, as long as I am here, nothing will happen to Leopard. Since he is a new recruit, Leopard and I will entertain him well for our teammates. Seeing the malicious smiles of Yu Feng and Osluo, Kinming sighed secretly in his heart. He had told them that Lu Bao was not an ordinary auxiliary soul master, so since they didn't listen, he had to let them make trouble. In Kinming's educational philosophy, soul masters who dare not cause trouble are mediocre. He won't control too much when it comes to fights between students. Chapter 5 Tindo Royal Academy 4 Night. Tindo Royal Academy, Male Dormitory Building. Room 6. Inside the room. After taking a shower and changing into the uniform of Tindo Royal Academy, Lu Baobao sat on the spacious and clean floor to meditate and practice. The aura of soul power overflowed from his body and swirled around him. 3 yellow, and purple soul rings were rhythmically moving up and down his body, emitting their own light. Lu Bai's shadow was reflected on the smooth floor under the light. If it is someone else's shadow, it is just a shadow formed by light shining on an opaque object. Lu Baoli's shadow is different. His shadow is not an ordinary shadow, but a martial spirit. No matter which world we are in, the existence of shadows is a natural phenomenon, just like rain and thunder. It is very common for soul masters to use natural elements such as wind, thunder, fire, water, and earth as their martial souls. But there has never been such a precedent in the mainland for using natural phenomena as their martial souls. Because of this, Lu Bao was qualified to become a top student and realize his plan to join Tindo Royal Academy. What he has to do now is to get close to Duga Yin as a team of auxiliary soul masters from the Tindo Royal Academy, and then inquire about her grandfather Duga Bo, and at the same time understand the toxicity of the green phosphorus snake venom, so that he can better plan how to crack Duga Bo, a poison array set up in the Sunset Forest using jade phosphorus snake venom. Lu Badai firmly believed that after passing through the poisonous formation, everything would fall into place, and the 2 extreme auras produced by the ice and fire eyes would not kill him all at once. If that doesn't work, I can only rely on my relationship with Duga Yin to meet Duga Bo, and with Duga Bo's permission and protection, I can enter the eye of ice and fire. One is to rely on oneself, and the other is to rely on others. Of these 2 options, Lu Baoyang would of course choose the former if he had the ability. There are no permanent friends in the face of interests. Lu Baoyang would not choose to trust Duga Bo, whom he had never met. At the same time, he also wanted to monopolize the opportunity of the fairy grass near Binghuoliangi. Although I have not systematically learned the knowledge of jelly grass, I have not forgotten the various jelly grasses described in the original book. Lu Bao was able to identify the fairy grass based on the description in the original book and pick them. Lu Bao had a very clear goal in planning the fairy grass, which was to first pick the poisonous nemesis, Yoshiang Kilyuo fairy. First of all, having this best antitoxic fairy grass with you can ensure that you will not be harmed by the venom of biphosphorus snake. Secondly, the Pai clan, who are proficient in refining medicine and making poisons, are eager to obtain the Yoshiang Kilyuo Immortal. According to the original description, the leader of the Pai clan, Yang Wubi, has reached the point of extreme obsession with refining medicine and poison. He said that using his, he is also willing to exchange his life for the Yoshiang Kilyuo Immortal product. Then, Yang Wubi should agree to use the Paji clan's medicine refining and poison-making technology in exchange for the Yoshiang Kilyuo Immortal. Lu Bao was thinking that since he had the opportunity to obtain fairy grass and various genius treasures, he must of course maximize the value of these treasures. And refining medicine and making poison can be done just right. Therefore, after obtaining the Douluo Immortal product, Lu Baobao planned to find a powerful backer, then go to the Paklan to trade, and find a way to exchange the Douluo Immortal product for the technology of refining medicine and poisoning. After learning how to refining medicine and poisoning, Binghua, the herbs growing on the edges of the eyes, are real treasures to him. All plans and practices are deviated. Lu Baoyang doesn't know if this plan can be as smooth as joining Tiando Royal Academy. He only knows that if you have a plan, act on it. No matter whether it succeeds or not, you have to give it a try. Because except for the Shadow Martial Soul and 3 soul skills, he has no other abilities, no heaven-defying skills to bless him, no powerful system to accompany him, and even his physical fitness is that of an ordinary soul master. If one wanted to measure one's own strength, Lu Bao knew that he was just an ordinary soul master, and his talent was incomparable to that of Yu Tianheng, Tang San, and others. Even Ma Hongjuan's talent was much better than his own. If you want to gain physical fitness that is different from ordinary people, and if you want to grow faster than others in a short period of time, the only way is to take the 2 ice and fire jelly grass mentioned in the original work, and then jump into the ice and fire eyes to practice, so that the body and the shadow martial soul has undergone earth-shaking changes. This is the counterattack path Lu Bao could think of. All success or failure in the future will be determined by the chance of the fairy grass. Outside the room, it is already 8 o'clock in the evening, and the mimic training area, playground, and soul fighting platform have all been closed. The students have rushed back to their dormitories to rest after finishing the day's training. However, you can only see such diligent students who live on the highest floor of the dormitory. Students living on the lower floors are relatively lazy or disdain to practice. The strength and talent of these students are naturally weaker. The students of Tiando Royal Academy are indeed a mixed bag, as described in the original book. 2/3 of the students come here to hang out, but some students with lofty ideals are not excluded. They're all striving for the goal of being titled Douluo. Yu Tianheng 7 people are one of them. After the conversation with Qin Ming on the playground, Yu Tianheng and the other 7 returned to their dormitories respectively. Duge Yin and Yi Lingling lived in the girls' dormitory. So the only people who came back to the boys' dormitory were Yu Tianheng, Osluo, Yu Feng, Shuremo, and Shuremo. On the way back to the dormitory, the 5 of them were still discussing the topic of new recruits joining the army. It was inevitable that everyone would be estranged from Lu Bao's joining. After all, the positions of the 7 members of the team were already entrenched, and no one who Lu Bao replaced on the field was used to it, especially since Lu Hao, as an auxiliary soul master, could take away Yi Lingling's position at any time. This is even more unacceptable to Oslo and Yu Feng. The entire academy knew that in the first team of Tiando Royal Academy, Yu Tianheng was chasing Duge Yin, while Osluo and Yu Feng were chasing Yi Lingling, and the Sure family brothers were both in trouble. What if Lu Baoli joins in and accidentally takes away Duge Yin and Yi Lingling? This is what Osluo and Yu Feng are worried about. Yu Tianheng is not worried that Lu Baoyan will snatch Duge Yin away, because Duge Yin is as sinister and vicious as a poisonous snake, and also as shrewd as a snake. If it is so easy to deceive, Yu Tianheng had already succeeded. So why did he pursue it for 2 years to no avail? Exactly. The innate soul power is level 7, and it is only level 35 at the age of 18. I thought that Lu Baoli's talent was outstanding, but it turned out that he was not even as good as me. Walking in the corridor of the dormitory, Oslo snorted disdainfully. I am 16 years old now, 2 years younger than him, and my soul power has reached level 34. After another month or 2 of training, I might be able to raise it to level 30. It's level 5. With his talent, I really don't know what teacher Qin Ming sees in him. Leopard, you can't say that. Yu Tianheng said disapprovingly. Lu Bao is an auxiliary soul master, and his cultivation speed is slower than our battle soul masters. If the cultivation resources are not very good, he can do it at the age of 18. Cultivating to level 35 soul power is considered pretty good. Tianheng, how can you speak for outsiders? Oslo said angrily. Teacher Qin asked you to act like a captain. Do you really want to take good care of him? Be careful that he will take advantage of Sister Yenzi as soon as he joins the team. Then let's see if you still have the tolerance and magnanimity of the captain. Yu Tianheng snorted coldly. My talent and strength are undoubtedly outstanding no matter which college I am in. It took me 2 years to defeat Yin Yin. With his talent, Yin Yin can't even look down on him. Moreover, Yin Yin said, excluding Lingling, she has no favorable impression of other auxiliary soul masters and is too weak. Don't forget it. Momo, the big guy walking at the end, reminded. Teacher Qin said that Lu Badan is not an ordinary auxiliary type. Think about it, Lingling's 9 hearts and Begonia are so domineering, and Lu Batty's shadow martial spirit, maybe there's something really special about it. Sure, I would have forgotten it if you didn't tell me, Yu Feng said with a smile. Ling Ling is 15 years old this year, but her soul power has reached level 33. They are both auxiliary soul masters, and Lu Baobao seems to have even Ling Ling's talent. None of them can compare. I guess Teacher Qin found a waste again this time. Didn't this happen before? In the end, he was forced to leave our team due to lack of ability. Otherwise, room 6 will not have been unoccupied. Hearing this, Oslo laughed heartily. Yu Feng, you actually said such contemptuous words in such a gentle tone. No wonder Lingling said you are an insidious birdman. At this moment, the conversation among the 5 people suddenly stopped. Yu Tianheng, who was walking at the front, stopped, and the others also stopped. They were currently at the door of room 6. Through the window, I saw a man sitting on the floor in room 6, which had been vacant. The man's delicate face didn't look particularly handsome, but the luxurious uniform of Tiando Royal Academy gave him a unique temperament. It was completely impossible to tell that he was a commoner with the title of top student. Is that guy Lu Baoli? Oslo's face was pressed against the window, quietly watching Lu Baoli, who was sitting cross-legged in the room meditating. Looking at his appearance, he doesn't look like a civilian at all, that stinky bastard. He's finished practicing. When Shurimo saw Lu Baobao stand up, he immediately asked Yu Tianheng, Captain, should we go in and say hello to him? Before Yu Tianheng could respond, Oslo responded, of course. Didn't Teacher Qin say that? You need to take good care of him. Yu Feng, let's go in and take good care of him and see how he behaves with others. What's the difference between the auxiliary soul masters? Yu Feng smiled proudly and geared up. Leopard, what do you think we should do? Nonsense. Oslo snorted. As future teammates, of course we have to use our strength to test his uniqueness for everyone. Chapter 6 Tiando Royal Academy 5. As future teammates, of course we have to use our strength to test his uniqueness for everyone. Seeing the eager expressions of the two of them, Yu Tianheng reminded him in a low voice, Leopard, Yu Feng, you too, don't make a big deal out of it. After all, Lu Baoli is our future teammate, and he is also an auxiliary soul master. He shouldn't have much fighting ability, so don't bully others with your soul skills. Oslo walked to the door of the room, smiled and waved. Captain, don't worry. Yu Feng and I have our own sense of proportion. While talking, Oslo had knocked on the door several times. Boom, 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 there was a knock on the door. Lu Haoli opened the door and saw 5 people. 2 of them were big guys and looked almost exactly the same. They should be twins. The other 2 men standing closest to the door were both thin. One had a slicked back hair, and the other was handsome. Standing among the 4 people was a young man who exuded an inexplicable oppressive force. Lu Haoli could feel that this was the aura suppression coming from the martial spirits. The shadow martial arts were second only to the top martial arts in quality. The quality of the martial spirit aura that can suppress the shadow martial spirit is probably at the top level. His eyes swept across the 5 people in front of him, and Lu Baoyang, who was familiar with the original work, quickly made a guess in his mind. If the young man with the top martial spirit aura was Yu Tianheng, then the other 4 were Oslo, Yu Feng, Stone Grinding, and Graphite. The big twins are Shimo and Shimo, and the 2 closest to him are Oslo and Yu Feng. Hello everyone, my name is Lu Bao. Please take good care of me in the future. As the saying goes, don't hit the smiling person. Seeing Lu Baoan greeting him so warmly and politely, both Yu Feng and Oslo were stunned. For a moment, they even forgot to give Lu Baoan a blow. You are the 5 most outstanding people in Tiando Royal Academy, right? Teacher Qin Ming has already mentioned you to me, and I have often heard others talk about your excellence outside. You are about to reach the 40-level bottleneck before you are 20 years old. They are all my role models, so I thought of joining the academy. While flattering the 5 people, Lu Baopa politely made way for them, made an invitation gesture to the room, and said with a smile, "It's cold outside, everyone. Don't stand at the door. Come in and talk." "Well, then I'm bothering you." Faced with this situation, Oslo couldn't put on an expression looking for trouble. He couldn't say anything harsh for a moment. He glanced at his friends and followed Lu Bao politely. Enter the dormitory. Yu Feng and Yu Tianheng also followed in, followed by the 2 brothers Shuremo and Shuremo inside the room. 6 people sat in a circle on the ground and chatted. They briefly introduced themselves to each other, said a few polite words, and then awkwardly paid attention to each other. When the enthusiastic atmosphere gradually returned to calm, Yu Feng pulled off Oslo's clothes and signaled him to hurry up and give the newcomer a showdown as planned. Oslo patted his butt and stood up. After adjusting his mentality, he said to Lu Baoan, "LV Baoan, we welcome you to join. Since you are already a member of the first team, you must abide by the rules of that team." "What rules?" Lu Bao asked. A deep light flashed in Oslo's eyes. "No matter what type of soul master you are, you must show your abilities to the brothers first. I heard from teacher Qin Ming that your shadow martial soul is extraordinary, and you are not just an auxiliary soul master." Lu Baoli also stood up, faced Oslo, and said truthfully, "I am not just an auxiliary. Everyone has a shadow, so my shadow spirit can assist teammates and can also control the enemy's shadow." "Control the enemy's shadow?" Yu Feng said in surprise. "You mean that in addition to the auxiliary system, you are also the control system?" Lu Bao nodded. Yu Tianheng and the Shi brothers were secretly surprised. The auxiliary soul master played both the control and auxiliary roles in the team battle. In this way, the team does not have to worry about the auxiliary soul master being targeted. The auxiliary soul master can also form a dual control lineup with the control soul master. Thinking about it this way, Lu Baoyang is indeed outstanding. Isn't that good? Oslo smiled proudly. "Since you are still a control soul master, let's go through 2 simple tricks. Let me see why you have the ability to join our team and why you can replace it." Ling Ling's location. Lu Baoyan explained. "I think you misunderstood. Yi Lingling and I may not necessarily be the same. In team battles, she and I can also play at the same time. Moreover, I am just a substitute in your team, not a replacement." "Who? Is there any difference?" Oslo became serious and his tone became more aggressive. In team battles, the team usually does not send 2 auxiliary soul masters. If you perform well in the team battle, then you will appear. The number of times will increase, and the number of Lingling will decrease. Over time, sooner or later you will replace Lingling. I will never allow this to happen. After hearing these words, Lu Baoyan's polite attitude became a bit cold. He could understand Oslo's desire to avenge Yi Lingling's injustice. He also knew that it was difficult for a new member to quickly eliminate the feelings of the old members when they first joined a team. Dissatisfaction and dissatisfaction. The reason for greeting the 5 members of Yu Tianheng so warmly just now was to avoid unnecessary conflicts and for the sake of future team harmony. Now it seems that the previous flattery to them cannot avoid conflicts, because powerful people always like to be competitive. Oslo is a clear example. He is really fighting for Yi Lingling. At the same time, he is also using his strength to intimidate, and he likes to surpass or overwhelm others in everything. Douluo World is different from Blue Star. Blue Star is a gentleman who talks but does not take action. Most conflicts can be resolved with the word reason. As for Douluo World, if you can be reasonable, then why do you need strength? Since they want to test whether they are qualified to be their teammates, they should also test the gold content of those who are called geniuses in Douluo continent. As he thought about it, Lu Bao's eyes became much colder. He was a man who was polite before fighting. Since his mouth couldn't solve the problem, he would use his fists. "What are you coming? It's just a matter of 2 moves. Oslo said responsibly. "I'll tell you directly. If you want us to recognize you, showing your strength is the most direct way." "You're right. In that case, let's do what you said, and let's do a simple trick." Lu Baoyang raised his eyebrows, raised his right fist, and said with a smile, "It's our first time meeting, and I don't have anything to entertain you. If it's yours, I'll treat you to a fist." Oslo was stunned. He didn't expect that Lu Hao would say such a thing. He smiled faintly and said, "You were so polite before. I didn't expect you to be such an arrogant guy." Lu Baoan also laughed, "Because I have discovered that being overly polite and humble will only make people want to bully you more. The rule of this world is to stop talking nonsense if you can do it. You're right, use fists to shut you up. Yes, the most direct way." Suddenly, something strange happened in the quiet dormitory. After Oslo and Lu Batty exchanged words, a confrontation between the soul breaths appeared. The collision of each other's breaths caused vibrations, causing the surrounding walls to shake. Yu Tianheng and others stood up one after another. From the soul power radiated by Lu Baobao, the soul power they felt was very powerful. It was not like the soul power aura possessed by the auxiliary soul master. Obviously, Lu Baoli joined the team as an auxiliary soul master, but his actual development direction was as a combat soul master. Otherwise, how could his soul power be strong enough to resist Oslo? Oslo and Lu Bao did not release their martial souls. They simply exchanged glances and soul powers with each other. As agility attack types, preemptive strikes are always the first concept. With a movement of their bodies, Oslo's palms were in the shape of claws. Without saying a word, he pounced towards Lu Bao. Yu Tianheng and others took a few steps back to make room for the two of them to compete. However, before they could even take a step back, Oslo was kicked away by Lu Baoli, passed through the window of the room door, and hit the dormitory hard. Downstairs, Chapter 7 Lu Bao's 3 soul skills. Oslo, who was kicked downstairs, did not suffer any trauma. Although the highest floor of the dormitory building was dozens of meters above the ground, the Soul Master's physical fitness was still enough to withstand such an impact. While getting up from the ground, Oslo was also looking back at the kick Lu Bao had given him just now. He was of the agility attack type, and he struck first, but was defeated by the second strike. This showed that Lu Bao was no worse than him in terms of speed. Moreover, that kick was strong and powerful, and the strength was not possessed by an auxiliary soul master at all. Oslo figured it out. It turned out that this was what Qin Ming meant when he said that Lu Hao was not an ordinary auxiliary soul master. Auxiliary soul master? After muttering something silently in his mind, Oslo sighed and realized that Lu Baobao was not an auxiliary soul master. Judging from his combat skills and performance, Lu Baobao was completely developing in the direction of a fighting soul master. Oslo was almost certain that Lu Bao was an agility attack soul master like him. Then why was he recruited into the team by Qin Ming as an auxiliary soul master? Because Lu Bao possesses an amplifying soul skill, and due to the special nature of the shadow martial spirit, he can use this amplifying soul skill on other people's shadows, so that other people can obtain the same amplifying effect. Lu Bao's auxiliary soul skills were, to put it bluntly, the Battle Soul Master's own amplification skills. After thinking about it, Oslo became more and more excited. Since Lu Hao was not an auxiliary type, but an agility attack type like himself, his desire to win naturally became stronger. With a thought, the soul power aura burst out from the body. 3 yellow, and purple soul rings unfolded under Oslo's feet. He touched his head, and the black and purple aura behind him transformed into a 5-meter-long Black Panther. Lu Hao jumped down from the top floor of the dormitory and landed safely. With the sound of a beast's roar, he noticed that Oslo had released his martial soul and soul ring. The same 3 yellow, and purple soul rings flashed out one after another. Except for the 3 soul rings, no martial soul appeared on Lu Hao's body. It was not that he intentionally concealed his martial soul, but that his martial soul was a shadow. As long as there is light, the shadow martial spirit will be possessed by the martial spirit all the time. The shadow under Lu Hao's feet is his martial spirit. Under the light of the lights and soul rings in the corridors on each floor of the dormitory building, one can clearly see the shadows of Lu Baoli and Oslo. They were confronting each other, and their shadows seemed to be confronting each other. The Black Panther behind Oslo disappeared. At the same time, his fingers stretched out sharp claws. His hair turned completely black, and the characteristics of a black panther appeared all over his body. At the same moment when the spirit possession was completed, the third spirit ring under Oslo's feet quickly lit up. The third spirit skill, Leopard Shadow Clone. While running rapidly, when Oslo rushed towards Lu Haoli, three figures suddenly flashed out from him. In an instant, the three figures flashed to the east, west, south, and west of Lu Haoli, and Oslo Luo Zhe was in the north. One person and three clones attacked Lu Bao with the force of a tiger descending the mountain. Facing the leopard shadows flying towards him from four directions, Lu Bao stood quietly on the spot, seemingly quiet, but the three soul rings under his feet were all spinning violently. The first soul skill is Shadow Locking. The second soul skill is Shadow Attack. The third soul skill is Shadow Control. Soul power was injected into the three soul rings, and the three soul skills were activated at the same time. Suddenly, Oslo seemed to be locked by some force, and he felt an uncomfortable feeling all over his body. His rich combat experience told him that this was probably due to Lu Bao's soul skill having some kind of impact on his shadow. Oslo was still very confident in his speed. He wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to defeat Lu Bao first before Lu Bao activated his soul skill, the second soul ring skill, Leopard Shadow Flash. This is an amplification-like soul skill with pure speed attributes. With the blessing of Leopard Shadow Flash, Oslo's speed will be doubled. Furthermore, Leopard Shadow clones will attack from four directions at the same time, making it impossible for the enemy to evade. The leopard claws flashing with cold light suddenly raised, and Oslo touched Dabiai's head again. This was an action he often did before winning. LV Bao. The battle is over. Just before the words fell, Oslo and his clone, who were flying towards Lu Hao in the four directions of east, west, north, and south, suddenly stopped. Oslo tried to lift his feet and pounce forward, but he couldn't move an inch. It was as if his feet were tightly glued to the ground, and he couldn't lift his feet at all. What's even weirder is that he is now in the grip of a big back. Even the hands and body cannot move. Am I stopped by time? Oslo was secretly shocked that even his three Leopard Shadow clones couldn't move. This was not some kind of soul skill that stopped time. It was just the effect of Lu Hao's first soul skill, Shadow Locking, and his third soul skill, Shadow Control. Shadow Locking can lock the shadow within a certain range, and Shadow Control can control the locked shadow and change the state of the shadow, using your own or other people's shadows to make changes. Oslo and his three Leopard Shadow clones will be in a motionless state entirely because their shadows are controlled by Lu Bao's third soul skill. The shadows cannot move, so naturally the Shadow Master cannot move. The enemy's shadow is in a controlled state. If you want to force it to move, unless the soul power is many levels higher than that of Lu Bao, or the quality of the martial spirit is much stronger than the shadow martial spirit, otherwise, the overall situation has been decided and one cannot move. Aren't you just at the mercy of Lu Bao? To be on the safe side, Lu Badai also used his second soul skill, Shadow Attack, to gain the ability to escape to the surface and freely shuttle between shadows. During this period, he could be shielded from mental power detection, and his speed and attack attributes were increased by 50%. This soul skill is mainly due to the fear that Oslo's three clones are illusory and will not produce shadows. Once there are no shadows, the shadows cannot be locked and controlled. If Oslo's three clones cannot be controlled by then, they can still with his second soul skill, Shadow Attack. He escaped to the surface to avoid attacks and launched a surprise attack on Oslo. Fortunately, Oslo's three clones are entities and have shadows, so they are affected by the two soul skills of Shadow Locking and Shadow Control. LV Baon, what did you do to me? Oslo was still in the position of touching the back of his head with both hands, unable to move. This enchanting posture made him feel a little ashamed. You know, there were girls 100 meters away from the men's dormitory. What would Yi Lingling, whom he liked, think if he saw her in such a position with a man? Lu Baolei was now under the amplifying effect of the second soul skill, Shadow Attack. His whole figure seemed to disappear into the ground and turned into a black shadow. The next moment, he actually emerged from the shadow under Oslo's feet and suddenly appeared in front of Oslo. Seeing this scene, not only Oslo, but also Yu Tianheng and others who were watching on the corridor on the highest floor were shocked. Sure, Mo had a flash of inspiration. Can Lu Bao's soul skill still allow him to shuttle back and forth between shadows? Hearing this, the five of them felt nervous at the same time. If Lu Hao had murderous intentions towards Oslo, wouldn't it mean that Oslo was killed just now without even reacting? Silently appearing next to the enemy through the enemy's shadow. No matter how careful the Soul Master is, he will not be able to guard against it, right? And this kind of soul skill is undoubtedly the most practical in team battles. It is very possible to kill the opponent in an instant, let alone the opponent's auxiliary Soul Master. It's not scary for your teammates to betray you. But what's even more scary is for your own shadow to betray you. Looking at Lu Baiwal, who appeared in front of him from his own shadow, Oslo panicked and his eyes trembled. No matter how stupid he was, he could still tell that he was dead. If Lu Baiwal had a knife in his hand, he would still be dead. If he stabbed it towards the heart, wouldn't he really be dead? I said, please eat your fist. If you don't agree with me joining the first team, I will let you eat as much as you like. After saying that, Lu Hao raised his fist and hit Oslo hard in the face. Bang, bang, boom, boom. The sound of collision, the subtle noise of fists and elbows rubbing the air, and Oslo's screams echoed downstairs in the dormitory. Both the speed of Lu Hao's punches and the attack power of his fists were increased by 50% compared to his second soul skill shadow attack. Such continuous punches hit Oslo's face, which had no power to fight back. It was like countless cannonballs were blasting in the face, and the power can be imagined. Oslo's shadow was frozen at this time, and his whole body was beaten like a wooden man, but could not fight back. He could no longer bear the pain of his flesh and blood, and screamed in a trembling voice, "Agree. I agree. Don't. Hit. I welcome you to join the team." The next day, morning, Tiando Royal Academy, playground. The 7 Yu Tianning students did not go to the classroom early in the morning, but came to the playground to gather. Seeing Oslo's face covered with bandages, Duge Yin and Yi Lingling were puzzled and asked him why. He only said one word, it hurts, helpless. Yi Lingling had no choice but to use Jiuxin Haidang martial spirit to help him treat him. Leopard, how did you do this? Duge Yin asked curiously. I haven't seen you all night, so why does your face look like a pig's head? Or is it that your ghost leopard martial spirit mutated and turned into a pig? Oslo lamented, Sister Yinzi, please stop being harsh on me. I already suffered enough physical pain last night, and I don't want my soul to be traumatized again. What happened to him? Yi Lingling asked Yufeng. Yufeng wanted to answer truthfully, but Oslo warned them not to tell anyone about the beating they received from Lu Bao last night. Others are shameless, but Oslo is shameless. He went to provoke Lu Bao and was beaten violently. If Yi Lingling, whom he liked, knew about this, wouldn't he be treated as a laughingstock? It's an uncomfortable feeling to be the butt of a joke. Where's Lu Bao on? Duge Yin suddenly said, didn't Teacher Qin say that he would bring him to the team training today? Why didn't he come to the playground to gather? I said last night that I would beat him up for Lingling. Sister Yinzi, I think it's better for you not to fight Lu Hao. Shirimo scratched his head and kindly reminded, as Teacher Qin Ming said, that guy is not a simple auxiliary soul master. Moreover, his personality is similar to that of Yufeng. He is polite on the surface, but he is terrifyingly sinister in his heart. He is a very difficult guy to mess with. Yufeng glared at Shirimo. Big guy, even if you say bad things about Lu Bao behind his back, why do you want to say bad things about me in front of me? Duge Yin completely ignored Shirimo's persuasion and snorted coldly. He is not easy to mess with, so I am easy to mess with? Teacher Qin said that he is so powerful. If I don't see him playing any role in the team today, I will definitely call him taste the green phosphorus snake venom. Where is Teacher Qin Ming? Why don't you see Teacher Qin? Chapter 8 Shadow Martial Spirit 1. Where is Teacher Qin Ming? Duge Yin suddenly remembered. Why haven't you seen Teacher Qin? Yu Tianning responded. LV Bao is a civilian student recruited by Teacher Qin Ming without permission. Although he is a top student, he does not have a certificate for top students. Teacher Qin took him to the 3 education committees to apply for top student qualifications. Really? I hope the 3 education committee members will drive him away, Duge Yin said coldly, This way we don't have to worry about someone competing with Lingling for his position. Yu Qianheng shook his head. I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. After the 3 education committee members see Lu Bao's shadow martial spirit, they will definitely grant him the status of a top student. After saying that, Yu Qianheng fell into deep thought. He was watching the battle between Lu Baoli and Oslo last night very seriously. He was almost certain that Lu Baoli's shadow martial spirit would be able to play its ultimate role in any team. He is also more convinced that with the addition of Lu Haoli, the fighting style of the Tiando Royal Academy team will change and their combat effectiveness will become extremely powerful. However, Yu Qianheng glanced at Yi Lingling from the corner of his eye, feeling worried for her. In team battles, the team generally will not let 2 auxiliary soul masters play at the same time, because one more auxiliary system will reduce 1 combat power and 1 more object that needs to be protected. The better Lu Baoli's performance in the team will be in the future, the greater the team's reliance on Lu Baoli will be. When team battles begin, Yi Lingling's appearances will undoubtedly decrease. As a teammate for many years, how could Yu Qianheng bear to see Yi Lingling being ignored by the team? And how could he bear to see the Jiuxin Haitang martial spirit, one of the few on the mainland, not given a chance to perform? If the 2 auxiliary soul masters, Lu Baolon and Yi Lingling, appear at the same time, wouldn't it mean that Duge Yin of the control system would have to be replaced? After all, Lu Baoli said last night that he could be an auxiliary soul master or a control soul master, and even had the potential of agility and attack. At this time, a rough voice interrupted Yu Tianheng's thoughts. Are you all here? Yu Tianheng and the others looked towards the voice. The person who came was a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was not tall but gave people a majestic feeling. His broad shoulders were like iron walls, and his clothes could not hide his strong muscles that were made of steel. Although the expression on his face was kind, his strong figure would invisibly give people a strong sense of oppression. If you look closely, you can see that this middle-aged man looks very similar to Shimo and Graphite. This man is also the father of the Shi brothers. His name is Shi Gao, a 78th level defensive fighting soul saint, a martial soul black turtle, and a Tiando level practical instructor at the Tiando Royal Academy. Father, why are you here? Shi Mo and Shi Mo asked this question almost at the same time. Shi Gao came to the 7 people, hit the 2 Shi brothers on the head with 1 finger, and cursed, "How many times have I told you to avoid suspicion in the academy? Call me Teacher Shi." Shi Mo and Shi Mo scratched their heads in frustration, not daring to speak anymore. I thought to myself, with almost the same body shape and appearance, even the martial arts spirit and last name are exactly the same. How can I avoid being suspected of being a ghost? Teacher Shi, why are you here? Yu Tianheng asked. Shi Gao stretched out and said, Qin Ming said that he was busy this morning and had no time to train you, so he asked me to teach you for him. Today, I will give you a practical guidance class. Hearing this, Oslo and Yu Feng felt their hearts tighten, and a look of haggard appeared on their faces. If the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex has the most domineering attack among the beast martial souls, then the black tortoise's defense among the beast martial souls is the best. Especially after the soul power reaches level 70 and the martial soul avatar is possessed, the defense of the black tortoise can be called an attack because the force is reciprocal. If the defense cannot be shaken, it will be bounced away by the defense force or even be injured. The one with the highest defense power in the academy is by Bayeshan, the 85th level defense soul, Douluo second education committee member, followed by the 78th level defense soul, Holy Stone Master. During actual combat sparring with Shi Gao, even if he stood there quietly and others attacked him, the one who was injured in the end would still be his attacker. Even the 2 Shi brothers' faces suddenly turned ugly when they heard that their father was going to be today's actual combat instructor, and they hugged each other tightly as if they had seen a ghost. Yu Tianheng and Duge Yin didn't think it was a big deal, because the blue electric Tyrannosaurus dragon spirit was powerful enough to withstand Shi Gao's defensive rebound, while Duge Yin's jade phosphorus snake used poisonous mist to attack and would not interact with the opponent's body. If there is any contact, naturally, there is no need to worry about the rebound damage from the terrifying defensive power. Shi Gao completely ignored the feelings of the 7 people. After stretching again, he walked straight towards the soul fighting platform in the center of the playground. You guys should do some warm-up activities. Class will start in 5 minutes. I don't use martial arts or soul skills. Fight with you. If the 7 of you can hurt me, today's practical class will be passed. If you fail, I will make you run 100 times around the playground carrying a heavier turtle shell than before. Compared with before, today's punishment will be too much for your body. If you don't want to suffer, attack me with all your strength. Try to get full marks in my course. After that, Shi Gao sat on the soul fighting platform and fell asleep in less than a second, snoring continuously. The previous deans of Tiando Royal Academy were all served by the current emperor. However, due to the busy affairs of the empire, all affairs of the academy were basically left to Prince Xuexing and Crown Prince Xueqingyi to take care of. The two have a clear division of labor. Prince Xuexing manages the entire Royal Academy, while Prince Xueqingyi is responsible for supervising the work of the 3 major education committees or other senior personnel. In the center of the college's main campus, there is a church-like building called the Education Committee. At this moment, in the office of the Education Committee, the 3 Education Committee members and Prince Xueqingyi are having a meeting, and the content of the discussion is the situation of new students recruited by the college in the past few days. Judging from the information submitted by the teacher responsible for registering new students, there are more than a dozen talented noble students in Tiando Royal Academy this year, and the rest are young masters sent by some nobles to live in life. Hey, maybe the academy's rules for recruiting students have to be changed. After reading all the freshman materials, the 3rd Education Committee member, Jeline, sighed. According to this situation, sooner or later Tiando Royal Academy will become a place of entertainment for those nobles. How can it still be like the highest level Soul Master Academy? Look at the Star Luo Royal Academy, and then look at the Wahundian Academy. As long as they are capable and talented Soul Masters, regardless of their origins, they can be trained with corresponding resources. Our academy does have the most abundant training resources, but it has cultivated a bunch of incompetent people. What a waste of resources. After saying that, Jeline, the 3rd Education Committee member, looked at the Crown Prince Xueqingyi, who was standing aside, and said without restraining his temper, "Your Highness, please forgive me for being outspoken. I am just worried about the future of Tiando Royal Academy, and that the Tiando Empire has not been around for too long. I have been in a titled Douluo and am anxious." Prince Xueqingyi smiled lightly and said, "The Jilin Education Committee just says what it says, and you don't need to care too much about my feelings." You are right. There are indeed certain flaws in the college's rules for recruiting students. I have tried my best to resolve them with my father. Negotiate. My father is considering this matter, and I hope there will be some good news. Chief Education Committee Meng Shinji put the freshman information on the table, picked up another information card, and looked at it carefully for a few seconds before speaking. Except for the 13 noble children with innate soul power reaching level 6 or above. This year's college, we also recruited a commoner with level 7 innate soul power. Upon hearing this, the second-in-command by Baoshan was slightly surprised. Common people? What's going on? Isn't it stipulated in the college that only nobles can be admitted? Which teacher took the initiative and accepted common people? Meng Shinji chuckled. Second seat, please don't get excited. The teacher who recruited this civilian student without permission is Qin Ming. Qin Ming. Not only by Baoshan, but also Jeline also raised questions. In the eyes of the 3 Education Committee members, Qin Ming was a genius with both strength and wisdom. He would break the rules and recruit civilians into the academy without authorization. This had to be done by the Education Committee members. Surprised. Does this civilian student have anything to do with Qin Ming? Meng Shinji said, the reason why Qin Ming recruited this civilian student named Lu Haoli into the academy is that he has the qualifications to become a top student. Oh, Jeline looked happy. Does that civilian student have something unique in his martial soul talent? Meng Shinji nodded. The student's martial spirit is a shadow, and it is a shadow martial spirit without any elemental attributes. A shadow without elemental attributes? Jeline was silent for a moment. Normally, the shadow of a soul master who can awaken the shadow martial spirit will have some kind of natural element attached to it. For example, the shadow of fire, the shadow of water, or the shadow of thunder. There is no shadow of any element. It is a pure natural phenomenon, Can this phenomenon also become a martial spirit? This is the reason why Qin Ming recruited him out of the ordinary. Meng Shinji responded, "It is said that the student's shadow martial spirit can not only assist teammates, but also control the enemy. And his soul skills can allow the entire team to use the shadow of while performing activities in the shadow state. The attack and speed attributes are increased by 50%. What is even more incredible is that people in the shadow state can freely shuttle in the shadow area within 100 meters. It can be said that killing is invisible and unpredictable." After listening to Meng Shinji's story, not only Jilin and Bai Baoshan, but also Xue Qingyi on the side was slightly shocked. What surprised Xue Qingyi was not the effect of the shadow martial spirit's soul skills, but the shadow martial spirit itself. Only when there is light can there be shadow. The essence of shadow is the shadow area formed by light shining on an opaque object. Light is the weakness of shadow. Without light, there would be no shadow. At the same time, light is what makes shadow stronger. Xue Qingyi thought to himself that although he was a prince, his martial spirit was that of a swan. But those are just disguises. What is your identity? Qian Rinxue, the daughter of the former pope and the current pope, is her true identity, and the seraphim martial spirit, which represents holiness and light, is her true martial spirit. The seraph martial spirit can use the energy of the sun to release intense light and heat. Therefore, under the light of the seraph, the shadow martial spirit will definitely be affected and become more powerful. Shadow martial spirits and seraphim martial spirits are like the existence of light and shadow. They have a mutual influence and complementary relationship. This kind of relationship between martial spirits proves that the probability of the fusion of martial arts skills is very high. Big. When the martial soul fusion skill is produced, the power is not just the level of two soul masters, but a transcendent existence. However, even two identical martial souls may not be able to possess martial soul fusion skills. This requires the complementation and perfect matching of the martial souls. It is precisely for this reason that martial soul fusion skills are so precious. It's just a pity that Seraphim is a god-level martial spirit, and the quality is too different from the shadow martial spirit. Even if the shadow martial spirit is as unique as Meng Shinji said, it is still immortal and cannot be fused with the god-level martial spirit. Skills. Just as the education committee members were discussing the shadow martial arts, there was a sudden knock on the door of the office. 3 education committee members. Qin Ming has brought Lu Bao. Chapter 9 Shadow Martial Spirit 2. 3 education committee members. Qin Ming has brought Lu Bao. Hearing the sound outside the office, Meng Shinji immediately stood up and opened the door. "Teacher Qin, you came just in time. Please come in first." Qin Ming showed courtesy to Meng Shinji, walked into the office, and saluted Prince Xue Qingyi by Baoshan and Jilin respectfully. Lu Baoli, who was following behind him, also imitated Qin Ming and made the same gesture. After closing the door, the sound of discussion sounded again in the office. "Teacher Qin, is this the civilian student you mentioned with the qualification of a top student?" Jilin, the third-seat education committee member, cast his eyes on Lu Baoyang and said doubtfully, "I heard that you asked him to join as an auxiliary soul master. He joined the first team of Tiando Royal Academy. The soul power of the auxiliary soul master is more docile. Judging from the fluctuations in his soul power, he doesn't seem to be an auxiliary soul master." Qin Ming nodded slightly and said, "Yes, Lu Hao is a battle spirit master. But as described in the information, due to the special nature of the shadow martial spirit, his spirit skills can not only affect himself, but also on enemies or teammates. In team battles, he is not only a battle soul master, but also plays a supporting role. The first team already has Yi Lingling's 9-hearted begonia martial spirit as an assistant, but the 3 education committee members also know that although the 9-hearted begonia martial spirit's healing power is overbearing, it has too many limitations. Therefore, I want to recruit a member for the first team, an auxiliary soul master who can improve team fighting ability, so that in the elite competition 3 years later, the first team will definitely have an amazing performance." Meng Shinji said happily, "Teacher Qin always cares about the honor of the college no matter what he does. It's really hard work." Qin Ming smiled lightly. I didn't have the opportunity to participate in the elite competition before. This is a regret in my life. If the Tiando Royal Academy first team can achieve good results because of my efforts, it will be my wish. Teacher Qin, I already understand Lu Bao's situation. Meng Xinji patted Qin Ming's shoulder. Don't worry, I'm not an old fool. I can still tell the difference between gold and silver. Lu Bao's martial arts talent, it is indeed unique. His Highness the Crown Prince has approved the qualifications for being a top student, and so have the three of me. Hearing this, Lu Baoyang was overjoyed and bowed respectfully to several important figures. Thank you, His Highness the Crown Prince and the three Education Committee members. Wait, there's one more thing I want to figure out. Sanchi Jilin suddenly stood up, looked at Lu Baolei, and said seriously, your martial soul talent is indeed unique, but I don't know about your soul master talent. I want to test your strength. How do you want to try? Lu Bao asked. Jilin's serious face suddenly smiled. Try your performance in battle. Qin Ming rushed to say, Professor Jilin, I don't think you need to try. In the morning, I asked Teacher Shigao to help me give a practical guidance class to Tianhing's 7 people. Now they're probably still fighting souls in the playground. I will explain later. Replace Yi Lingling and let Lu Bao take her auxiliary position to fight Teacher Shigao again. If you want to know how Lu Bao performed in the battle, you might as well go to the playground to watch the battle. In this way, you can not only see Lu Bao's performance in the battle, but also the supporting effect he played in the team. How is it different from Yi Lingling's assistance? Very good, very good. Meng Xinji responded, the three of us are just free. I will also go to watch the battle. Prince Shui Qingyi looked at Lu Baoan and said, the shadow martial spirit is quite interesting. There may be some amazing performance. Let's go then. Jilin was the first to walk out of the office with his hands behind his back. Others also left the office and rushed to the playground. Playground center. On the soul fighting stage, Shigao and Yu Tianheng were engaged in actual combat training. After more than 10 minutes of fighting, Shigao did not use martial arts or soul skills as previously agreed. He just stood there quietly, giving people an unshakable feeling. No matter how Yu Tianheng and others attacked, they could not hurt him at all. Everyone's full blow only made Shigao take a few steps back, without any sign of injury on his body. On the contrary, Yu Tianheng and others who launched the offensive were shocked by the strong defense force and were covered with scars. Thanks to Yi Langling's 9-hearted begonia treatment, Yu Tianheng and others were able to fight without fear, maintaining the highest fighting spirit and physical condition. However, the soul power will be exhausted. If Yi Lingling cannot hurt Shigao before his soul power is exhausted, then the actual battle will be decided. A few minutes later, Yu Tianheng and others launched a continuous siege on Shigao, but were once again severely wounded by the terrifying defensive concussion. Yi Langling's 9-hearted begonia martial spirit is released, healing the entire area. Suffering from injuries, Yu Tianheng and the other 7 received treatment and recovered from their injuries. Just when they were about to attack with all their strength, Yi Lingling fell behind them. During the nearly half-hour battle, her 9-hearted begonia martial soul healed her teammates too many times. This also caused her soul power to be exhausted, and she knelt on the ground weakly. Duge Yin was the first to notice Yi Lingling's condition and hurriedly ran to help her up. Seeing this, Yu Tianheng and others also gave up fighting and looked at Yi Lingling worriedly. The team's fighting style is based on Yi Lingling's 9-hearted begonia martial spirit. With the 9-hearted begonia martial spirit, even if you are seriously injured, you can recover instantly, and you can instantly resurrect with full health even if your physical strength is exhausted. Therefore, Yu Tianheng and others can fight without restraint, without thinking about how to conserve their physical strength. When Yi Lingling lost his fighting ability and could no longer assist his teammates, the team's flaws were completely exposed. Without Yi Lingling's assistance, the others would have no one to rely on, and defeat would be a matter of time. As the captain, as the pride of Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus, it was so unwilling, helpless, and shameful to admit defeat to the enemy on behalf of his teammates. But Yu Tianheng still accepted the reality, suppressed the unwillingness in his heart, and said to Shigao, Shigao said, teacher, we lost this practical lesson. After hearing this, Shigao took back the green aura lingering around his body, which was the sole power of the Xuanwu turtle's martial spirit. After half an hour of fighting, facing the continuous siege of high-quality martial spirits such as the blue electric Tyrannosaurus rex, black tortoise, ghost leopard, jade phosphorus snake, and wind chime bird, Shirgao not only did not consume any soul power, but did not even have a single bruise on his body. Seeing Yu Tianheng and others looking dejected and low-spirited, Shirgao shook his head in disappointment and reprimanded. I haven't trained you for 2 months. It seems that you haven't grown at all. Just the strength of a few of you is enough. Do you call it the pride of Tiando Royal Academy? Don't laugh so hard. I said that if you fail in actual combat, you will run 100 laps around the playground with a turtle shell on your back. I am very dissatisfied with your performance. This time the weight of the turtle shell has doubled. Yi Lingling is no exception. Everyone, all must be punished. Teacher Shirgao, wait a minute. The sudden voice attracted everyone's attention. Shirgao, Yu Tianheng and others looked over and saw that the visitors were the 3 education committee members and the Prince Shui Kingi. In addition, Qin Ming and Lu Bao were also followed. The person who interrupted Shirgao's voice was Meng Xinji. In just one breath, the 3 education committee members appeared under the soul fighting stage. The third chair, Jilin, looked at Yu Tianheng and the 7 people who had admitted defeat and sighed in his heart. It was indeed like Qin Ming has said, the fighting style of the Tiando Royal Academy team is too monotonous. Once Yi Lingling's treatment assistance is lost, the entire team will become a mess, and there are certain flaws in the cooperation of teammates. In addition, Jushin Haidang can only restore physical strength, but not soul power. Facing a powerful opponent, no matter how much physical strength you use, it will only delay defeat. There is simply no way to turn the tide for the team and turn the situation around. The embarrassing appearance of Yu Tianheng and others' defeat also aroused Jilin's interest. He wanted to see what would happen after Yi Lingling was replaced by Lu Baolan. 3 education committee members, and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? Why are you all here? Shirgao thought to himself. Could it be that the corporal punishment of students was discovered just now? Meng Xinji chuckled. Teacher Shirgao, we are here to watch the battle. I heard that you will have another battle with Yu Tianheng and the others later. However, the assistant position is not Yi Lingling, but this person who just joined the academy. New life. Hearing this, Shirgao looked towards where Meng Xinji stretched out his hand, and what he saw was an unfamiliar face. This Shirgao scratched his head. Chief Meng, the results are the same, right? With Yi Lingling's assistance, Yu Tianheng and the others will have endless physical strength and don't have to worry about physical injuries. In a protracted battle, they may have a chance to fight. Hurt me. If it were another auxiliary soul master, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to last a few minutes in my hand. Lu Bao smiled. How will you know if you don't try? You're quite arrogant as a freshman. Shirgao looked at Lu Baolan's eyes and became more serious. He crossed his arms and snorted coldly. That's fine. Come on then. After you lose, it doesn't matter whether you are an auxiliary system or not. Soul Master, you have to carry a heavy turtle shell and run around the playground 100 times. Qin Ming patted Lu Bao on the shoulder and encouraged, behave well. Don't worry, Teacher Qin. I won't let you down. After saying that, Lu Bao accepted everyone's attention and walked up the steps to the soul fighting platform. Chapter 10 Shadow Martial Spirit 3. Not only the 3 education committee members and Prince Shui Kingi, but also Yu Tianheng and the other 7 people also had their eyes on Lu Bao. Everyone was in a very quiet state as they watched him step up to the soul fighting stage. Yu Tianheng and the other 5 had already met Lu Baoli, so they didn't think there was anything surprising about it. It was the first time for Douluo and Yi Lingling to meet each other, so they were confused for a while before they realized that this new student should be Lu Baoli. Watching Lu Baolian quietly as he walked over, Douluo chuckled disdainfully. Are you Lu Baolian? Thanks to Teacher Qin Ming for praising you so highly, you don't seem to have anything unique about you. Arriving in front of Douluo, Lu Baolian just glanced at her without replying. He glanced at Yu Tianheng and others before saying to Douluo, no matter what your attitude is towards my joining, we are teammates when we are together. If you have any dissatisfaction, we will discuss it later. At the moment, our enemy is Teacher Shirgao, and we should be unanimous in dealing with the outside world. Stop talking nonsense. Shirgao shouted from the other side of the soul fighting stage, If you want to fight quickly, I have to go to other classes. As the captain, Yu Tianheng naturally wanted to persuade his partners to let go of their estrangements at this time. Yin Yin, Lu Baoyu is right. Standing together and facing difficulties together are comrades. At this moment, let's deal with the enemy in front of us first. Okay, Lu Baolon, I want to see what role you can play in Lingling's place. After replying, Dugian helped Yi Lingling walk down from the soul fighting platform and let her rest beside Qin Ming. After Dugian came on stage again, her dissatisfaction with Lu Baoyan was no longer on her face. As the vice captain, of course she knew the priorities. She showed that she was dissatisfied with Lu Baoyan and just wanted to stand by her good sister, Yi Lingling, unconditionally. Now, if we want to fight together, we should put aside our past grudges. Otherwise, how can you leave your back to your teammates? On the soul fighting stage, Lu Baobao stood behind everyone in Yi Lingling's place. At the front of the formation were the Shi brothers from the defensive system and Yu Tianheng from the strong attack system. On the left and right were Yu Feng and Ao from the agility attack system. Si Luo and Dugian were in control in the middle position, and the seven quickly formed a formation to cooperate. The soul rings unfolded one after another, and each other's soul power breaths were released in the body, blending, and finally dyed half of the soul fighting platform light blue. The martial souls and soul rings of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus, basalt turtle, wind chime bird, jade phosphorus snake, and ghost leopard flashed in succession, and the blended soul power aura suddenly exploded, rushing in all directions. Seeing that the seven people had completed possessing martial spirits, Shi Gao smiled and said, "Very good. Continue to maintain this fighting spirit. This is the pride of Tiando Royal Academy." However, what puzzled Shi Gao, the three education committee members, and Shui Qingyi was why there were only 3 soul rings on Lu Bao's body that were beating, but no martial soul appeared. Shadow. Shui Qingyi was so attentive. He already guessed when he saw the shadow under Lu Baoyang's feet. It turned out that Lu Baoyang had been possessed by a martial spirit for a long time. No, it should mean that as long as there was light, his shadow martial spirit would always be in the martial spirit. The state of soul possession, this is really a different kind of martial spirit. Under the fierce sunlight, there was not only the shadow of Lu Baobao, but also the shadows of Yu Tianheng and 6 others on the floor of the soul fighting platform. They saw Lu Baobao's first soul ring flashing, and Yu Tianheng and 6 others were shocked at the same time, as if he was locked by some force. And this feeling was exactly the locking effect of Lu Baobao's first soul skill. Lu Baobao not only locked onto his comrades, but also locked onto the shadow of Shi Gao opposite him. The same feeling appeared in Shi Gao. With rich combat experience, he naturally knew that the enemy's soul skills were causing trouble. But so what, every soul master is extremely confident in his own expertise, and Shi Gao is no exception. Even if his shadow is really locked by Lu Bao, he still stands motionless. But look at these 7, how can this little devil shake his defense? The next moment the shadow was locked, a voice emerged in Yu Tianheng's mind: group attack. The meaning of group attack is that everyone attacks Shi Gao. The person who made this sound was Lu Bao. Yu Tianheng turned his peripheral vision to Lu Baoyan, who was behind Dugian, and found that he had not spoken at all, and the voice did not come from his ears, but rang directly in his mind. What's the matter? The peripheral vision of Dugian, Osluo, and others also fell on Lu Baoli. Apparently, they also heard the sound of group attack in their heads. Suddenly, Lu Baoli's voice appeared in Yu Tianheng's head again. This time the message conveyed by the voice was the effects of Lu Baoli's 3 soul skills. I see. After Yu Tianheng comprehended the message that appeared in his mind, he finally understood that it turned out that Lu Bao's first soul skill, locking, could not only lock on the shadow within a certain range, but also convey information through the shadow. Although this information is transmitted in one direction, it can only be passed to them by Lu Baoli, and they cannot pass it to Lu Baoli. However, Lu Baoli can pry into their thoughts through their shadows. In this way, the 7 people, connected by the shadows, formed an information-sharing network. Lu Baoyang's inner thoughts were conveyed to Yu Tianheng and Dugian at the same time, as well as Osluo, Yu Feng, Shirimo, and Shirimo. Now they already know that not only Lu Hao's first soul skill, shadow locking, but also his second soul skill, shadow strike is acting on them. Become a shadow? Is it possible for the blue electric Tyrannosaurus to become a shadow? Yu Tianheng looked at his hands in disbelief. The message from Lu Haoli told him that after receiving the assistance of the second soul skill shadow attack, he can move like a shadow. Yu Tianheng tried to use his mind to sneak his feet into the shadow under his feet. To his surprise, the floor was as soft as water, and his feet actually sank into the floor. No, to be precise, his feet should have entered the shadow. Duge Yin and others also succeeded in their attempt. In front of Lu Haoli, all 6 of Yu Tianheng's people fled to the surface and turned into 6 groups of black shadows. Seeing the living people disappear, Shi Gao and the 3 education committee members in the audience were shocked. The moment they succeeded in escaping into the shadow, Yu Tianheng and the others had completely trusted the message from Lu Haoli. They knew that within half an hour, not only would they be able to move like shadows and freely shuttle between shadows within 100 meters, you can also use your own martial arts and soul skills. Additionally, while in shadow state, their attack and speed attributes are increased by 50%. Shadow attack. This is Lu Haoli's soul skill. No wonder he has an attack and speed that is not inferior to the agility attack system, and he suddenly appeared from my shadow last night. Oslo sighed inwardly. 5% Ten's attack and speed are increased. And what will happen if he uses Leopard Shadow Clone and Leopard Shadow Flash in a shadow state? All 6 people turned into shadows and escaped to the surface. At the same time, they also understood the meaning of group attack. It turned out that Lu Haoli asked them all to go out to fight, and no one needed to protect anyone else. They could just fight, attack, and make sneak attacks in their shadow state. Any fighting method will do, as long as you can defeat your opponent. And Lu Haoli didn't need anyone to protect him, because he could also turn into a shadow and escape to the surface. In the process of maintaining the lock on the first soul skill, Lu Haoli will also use the third soul skill shadow control to control the battle situation, controlling or assisting the shadows of enemies or allies. Auxiliary system, control system, both positions at the same time. This is the uniqueness of Shadow Martial Spirit. Attack, a very simple word, but the meaning expressed is very clear. After receiving Lu Haoli's instructions in his mind, the 6 Yu Tianheng people lurking on the surface came out in the form of 6 black shadows and rushed towards Shi Gao with lightning speed. Shi Gao concentrated his attention, and his eyes fell on the 6 shadows coming from the ground. These 6 shadows separated in the process of rushing towards each other, each attacking in different directions. The speed was so fast that it was difficult to pay attention to these 6 shadows at the same time with the naked eye. Action. As his mental power became more concentrated, Shi Gao discovered that he could not use his mental power to sense the fluctuations in the soul power of the 6 shadows. The new soul skill can actually block the detection of mental power. Shi Gao's majestic body did not dare to stand still and immediately put on a fighting posture. At this moment, a black shadow appeared from behind Shi Gao. It was Oslo the Ghost Leopard. With the blessing of his second soul skill, Leopard Shadow Flash, and a 50% increase in the speed of his shadow attack, as the speed is already the fastest on the scene. The sharp claws suddenly slashed at Shi Gao's back. Shi Gao was no ordinary person. He turned around and used his thick arm to block Oslo's claw attack, and used his other arm to hit Oslo's face hard. Smash it hard. Looking at the fist close at hand, Oslo smiled lightly. With his current speed, he could completely avoid the fist attack, but he didn't need to do so, because the shadow state can not only shield mental power detection, but also be immune to physical attacks. I would like to ask, if you attack the shadow with fists, feet, or a knife, will the shadow be injured? As expected, Shi Gao's fist hit Oslo's face, passing through Oslo's body like it hit a disembodied soul. This scene finally made Shi Gao panic, because when he attacked, his defense was at its weakest. He faced not only Oslo, but also the other 6 people. This was a team battle. Teacher Shi, do you want to look behind you? Oslo reminded kindly. Chapter 11 Shadow Martial Spirit 4. Teacher Shi, do you want to look behind you? Oslo reminded kindly. Looking behind him from the corner of his eye, Shi Gao was stunned for a moment. At some point, Yu Tianheng had changed from a shadow state back to a human form and flew into the air. His body was wrapped around the Thunder Dragon. A burst of dragon roar sounded, and dense thunder and lightning condensed around his body. The second soul skill is thunderous. The countless electric currents coiling around were amplified at the same time. As Yu Tianheng roared loudly, the terrifying electric current turned into countless thunder and lightning arrows and flashed out in all directions. With a 50% attack increase from Shadow Strike and a 100% increase in thunder and lightning power from his third soul skill, Thunder Fury, the explosive power and attack power of Thunderbolt have reached quite terrifying levels. Strong lightning rays exploded from Yu Tianheng's body, flying toward Shigao with countless thunder and lightning around him. Seeing the lightning coming quickly, Shigao was scared. He was not afraid that the lightning rays would hurt him. What he was afraid of was that the lightning rays would accidentally injure Oslo. At this moment, Oslo was still with him. Unfortunately, when Shigao's attention fell on Oslo had already turned into a shadow and escaped to the surface and fled. This brat! Shigao cursed in his heart while holding his hands in front of him. He could no longer avoid Yu Tianheng's lightning shot from the air, so he could only rely on his unparalleled defense to take the attack. However, he forgot one thing, and that was the existence of Lu Bao. When his teammates launch a group attack, Lu Haoli can not only observe the battle situation and convey useful information to his teammates, but he can also control the battle situation. The third soul skill, Shadow Control, is the method he uses to control his enemies. I saw Shigao's hands spread wide open. Just when he was about to close them in front of his chest, he suddenly froze. The inexplicable resistance prevented his hands from closing in front of his chest. Even his body and feet could not move normally, as if his body suddenly being still. Is it that new soul skill again? Shigao's eyes fell on Lu Baoyang. From the smile on Lu Baoyang's lips, he could tell that he was definitely causing trouble. Seeing Shigao unable to move his body and turning into a shadow to sneak into the surface, Oslo recalled the battle with Lu Bao last night and realized that being immobilized was such a terrifying thing. At this moment, Shigao could not move his hands with his hands wide open, and the lightning rays from the air were already approaching. On the left and right sides of Shigao, the two brothers Shiremo, Shir jumped out from the ground at the same time, changed from the shadow state back to human form, and used their soul skills. The two brothers condensed green turtle shells in their hands and swung them toward the left and right sides of Shigao respectively. The heavy and hard green turtle shell came out of his hand, forming a horn shape with the lightning rays coming from the air. Even if Shigao could break through Lu Badai's shadow control by relying on the difference in soul power levels, it would still be impossible to dodge attacks coming from 3 directions. What's more, as a control type, Douluo Yin is preparing to attack in the 4th direction. If Shigao avoids attacks from 3 directions, he will fall into the trap of the Jade Phosphorus Snake Venom Array. All the soul power at level 78 exploded. Shigao did not use any soul skills or martial arts, but he still used his full strength. The terrifying energy shattered Lu Bai's control. Shigao's shadow was no longer under control. He immediately held his head with both hands to defend himself against attacks from 3 directions. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the soul fighting stage. Boom, 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 boom. The exploding soul power aura enveloped the entire soul fighting platform, and smoke and dust rose everywhere. Without the use of martial souls, even the physical strength of a soul saint would be too much to bear. At the same time, the tortoise shells of stone-ground graphite and the thunderous bombardment of Yu Tianheng. But when the smoke and dust cleared, even though all the surrounding floors were destroyed, Shigao was still standing and did not fall down, with only minor skin injuries on his body. Injured, Yu Feng changed from his shadow state back to his human form and flew into the sky. He and Douluo Yin were preparing for the 2nd stage of the attack in the battle, Lu Bao told them. But seeing the scars on Shigao's body, Yu Feng and Douluo Yin did not attack again, because the rule was that if Shigao was injured, he would be considered a pass in actual combat. The 78th level soul power exploded again. Shigao did not end the battle. His eyes had already locked on Lu Bao's position. It was common sense in the Soul Master world that in team battles, priority should be given to killing the auxiliary system. As someone with both auxiliary and control abilities, Lu Lily was too much of a threat, so Gao had to start with him first. You have passed the practical class. However, I don't want you to pass. I want you to get full marks. The battle continues. After saying this, Gao's bulky body suddenly moved, bringing up a series of soul power auras that flew towards Lu Baobao. All this happened so suddenly that Yu Tianheng and others had no time to react. Although Gao was a defensive soul master, his physical attributes were enhanced by 7 soul rings. If he exploded with all his strength, his speed would still be beyond the reach of Yu Tianheng and others. In an instant, Gao's figure appeared in front of him. Looking at the fist that was close at hand, Lu Baoyang was not afraid of rejoicing and smiled lightly. After playing so many roles in the team battle, he certainly thought of how to deal with being targeted by the enemy. Just when Gao's fist was about to hit the side of Lu Baobao's face, a scene that surprised everyone appeared. With a whoosh, Lu Baobao exchanged positions with Gao. The two were back-to-back, thus avoiding Gao. High fist. Taking this opportunity, Lu Baoli turned into a shadow and escaped to the surface, walking quickly with his back to Gao. He opened a distance of tens of meters before changing from the shadow state back to human form. Gao's somewhat shy and angry face showed a bit of a smirk. He knew that his fist was not empty. What just happened was that he appeared in Lu Baoli's position, and Lu Baoli appeared in his position. Switching positions. Is this also the soul skill of that brat? While thinking about it, Gao turned around to face Lu Baoli and shouted, "You brat, you only have 3 soul rings, but you use more than 3 soul skills. Lock on the shadow, turn into the shadow, freeze the shadow, and position swapped. Do you have soul bone skills?" Lu Baoli said truthfully, "No. Position swapping is an extension of my 3rd soul skill, shadow control. By changing the status of 2 shadows, shadow swapping is achieved. If the shadows swap positions, the shadow master will also follow suit. Exchange. It turns out it's a self-created soul skill." Gao became interested, touched his fists, and said with a smile, "That's right. I'll give you 80% for today's practical class." "No." Lu Bao shook his head. "We want full marks." As soon as the voice fell, Yu Tianheng and the other 6 turned into shadows and escaped to the surface again. Everyone used their full strength to fly straight towards Lu Baoli. They received the message from Lu Baoli in their minds, and that was to use the strongest tactics to attack Lu Baoli. Yu Tianheng and the other 6 people didn't know why they did this, but they still did it. Watching the 6 black shadows swimming fast like snakes on the ground, they all attacked Lu Baoyang. Not only Gao, but also the 3 education committee members and Shui Qingyi couldn't understand what was going on. Gao didn't care what they were planning. He was always vigilant while watching the show. He wanted to see what tricks these brats could pull off. Just when they came to Lu Baoyang's side, 6 black shadows suddenly jumped up from the ground and transformed into the figures of Yu Tianheng and 6 others. The soul skills in their hands hit Lu Baoyang's position almost at the same time. Gao, who was laughing and watching the show, only felt a force acting on him. With a passive movement, he appeared inexplicably within the attack range of Yu Tianheng's 6 people and was completely surrounded by the 6 people's soul skills. Got up. Only then did Gao notice that he was standing where Lu Baoli was at this moment, and Lu Baobao appeared at his original position. Another position swap trick. Gao tried to dodge the 6 incoming soul skill attacks, but found that it was too late. The attacks were already close at hand. How to avoid them? 6 soul skills exploded on Gao at the same time, and the soul fighting platform roared again. Shadow swap. Jilin's originally peaceful eyes gradually turned to surprise. He used the trick of shadow swapping on Gao again. That's why Gao appeared unprepared in the attack range of Yu Tianheng's 6 people. Within, Meng Xinji nodded and said, "That's right. This student named Lu Haoli is very good at using the shadow martial spirit. My black demon martial spirit is the most control-type martial spirit among all heroes. It can control people's dreams. It is a very troublesome existence for any soul master. I didn't expect that the shadow martial soul would be as difficult to deal with as my black demon martial soul. Once controlled by the shadow spirit, unless your shadow disappears completely, there will be almost no suspense in a battle at the same level. The shadow spirit will win." Because the changes in the shadow are so wonderful and difficult to predict. But even the human body itself produces light. So how can we make the shadow completely disappear? Your Highness, what do you think of Lu Bao's talent? Shui Qingyi's eyes obviously changed when he looked at Lu Bao, and he said seriously, the quality of the martial spirit is determined by innateness, but the potential of the martial spirit is determined by the soul master. I think Lu Bao could perform such an outstanding performance just now. Shadow Wuhuan naturally contributed a lot, but more importantly, it was Lu Hao's control of the battle situation and understanding of the battle. This student has a bright future. If he can become a titled Douluo, he will definitely be the top existence. Yes, if Tiando Royal Academy can have him join, there may be hope of competing with Wuhuan Palace for the championship in the elite competition 3 years later. Maybe the academy can really train a titled Douluo. Bai Baishan looked at Qin Ming, smiled, and said, Teacher Qin, your vision is really accurate. Qin Ming didn't reply, but he saluted respectfully. On the soul fighting stage, everything returned to calm. After being attacked by 6 people's soul skills, Shigao did not suffer any damage at this time, because he had already been possessed by the martial soul and used his first soul skill, Turtle Shell Defense, to remain unharmed. Teacher, didn't you say you don't need martial arts and soul skills? Yu Feng flew in the air, and from a high position, he could see Shigao's situation more clearly in the smoke. The soul skill was used, and the wind-turned wing hands suddenly waved, stirring up strong winds and blowing away the smoke. Shigao's martial soul-possessed state was exposed in front of everyone. Seeing the questioning looks from Yu Tianheng and others, Shigao immediately released the martial soul-possessed and said with a bitter smile, Okay, I lost this actual battle. Not only did you let I was injured, and yet I was forced to use all my soul power, including my martial soul and soul skills. You get full marks for this class. You don't need to suffer any further punishment. Hearing this, Sure Mo and Sure Mo were overjoyed and sat down exhausted. Finally, I don't have to be punished. Oslo also exhausted his soul power, sat down on the ground, and complained to Sure Mo, I don't want to be like you 2 brothers, carrying a turtle shell and running around the playground 100 times. After saying that, Sure Mo and Oslo high-fived each other and collapsed to the ground at the same time. Duguyan and Yufeng had the least consumption, so they could still stand. Duguyan's eyes fell on Lu Baoli. How could she have thought that this time she would be able to get away with being punished in Teacher Shigao's class, and it would be her first actual combat? After getting full marks in the class, it was also the first time for Duguyan to feel the support of an auxiliary soul master other than Yi Lingling. The feeling of being assisted by Lu Bao was so comfortable. Chapter 12 Shadow Martial Spirit 5. Duguyan's eyes fell on Lu Baoyan, and she found that it felt so comfortable to be assisted by Lu Baoyan. Acting in a shadow state, the speed and attack attributes are increased by 50%. This increase allows the control type to have the speed of the agility type and the attack of the power type, and can perform poison control with ease. Duguyan was not stupid. She had already experienced how powerful Lu Baoli was in this actual battle. At the same time, I have already accepted his joining in my heart. After all, what team doesn't want to win? With Lu Bao around, no matter what opponent he encounters, his winning rate will be greatly improved. Yu Tianheng had never received full marks in Shigao's practical class, but he never expected that he would achieve it today. After comparing before and after, he had to admit that Lu Bao's role in the team was indeed unmatched by Yi Lingling. In every soul fighting game he encountered in the future, if it was a friendly match, Yu Tianheng would choose to let Yi Lingling play. If victory was considered, Yu Tianheng would definitely let Lu Bao appear first. Duguyan, Oslo, and others also had this idea. After an actual battle, the 7 members of the Tiando Royal Academy team had seen and personally experienced the role that Lu Baoli played in the team. Oslo was right. Showing strength was the most direct way to gain recognition from others. Seeing her companions sitting on the soul fighting stage in relief, chatting and laughing, Yi Lingling was happy in her heart, but her mood was also very complicated. Previously, when he fought with his companions, he could not hurt Shigao no matter what, but after being replaced by Lu Bao, the team's fighting ability has changed so much. Yi Lingling is very happy that her team has become stronger, and she is also very happy to have such a reliable partner. However, Yi Lingling's back looks a bit lonely, and there is a sense of distance from her partners in her heart. The team no longer needs itself. Shirgao jumped off the ring with an ugly face. This was the first time he was forced to do this by a student. He smiled bitterly at Qin Ming and said, "What is the background of the new student? Shadow Martial Spirit. I can't think of any family named Lu, even if I try hard to think of it. The inherited martial spirit is a shadow. He is a civilian." Qin Ming responded. He joined the academy with the title of top student, and he is now also a member of the first team. It turns out he is a top student. No wonder his martial spirit is so special. Shirgao looked at Lu Badai with surprise in his eyes. With him here, the team's combat capabilities and mobility have been greatly improved. The compatibility is also higher. I can't believe it. And the auxiliary martial souls of Yu Tianheng and others are more suitable for Yu Tianheng and others than Jushin Haidang. In team battles, Lu Bao's combat effect is indeed much better than that of Yi Lingling. Hearing these words, Yi Lingling looked calm on the surface, but her mood became more depressed. It wasn't until Oslo called her over to help with treatment on the soul fighting stage that she hurried over and used her remaining soul power to release the 9 hearts and begonia martial soul. Immediately afterwards, accompanied by a faint fragrance, a white light fell from the sky. The white light looked extremely strange. It turned out to be in the shape of petals. It slowly fell and fell directly on Yu Tianheng, Lu Bao, and others, and blended into them lightly. In vivo, for the first time, Lu Baoli experienced someone else's auxiliary soul skills acting on him. His tired body gradually returned to full strength, and all the lost physical strength was restored. This feeling was amazing. However, according to the original description, Jushin Haidang seems to be unable to restore soul power, nor can it repair broken limbs. Although it has the benefit of overall area treatment, it still has a fly in the ointment. In the original work, the 7 treasures glazed pagoda of the auxiliary martial spirit was also a flawed one. After being transformed by the fairy grass, it evolved into the 9 treasure glazed pagoda, thus solving the flaws of the martial spirit. Maybe after the Jushin begonia martial soul is strengthened by the fairy grass, it can also evolve to restore soul power, and even have the miraculous effect of restoring broken limbs. Immortal Grass is such a heaven-defying existence. Lu Baoyan's eyes fell on Douluo Yan, thinking that after this battle, Douluo Yan's hostility towards him should weaken a bit. He must establish a good relationship with her as soon as possible, and then plan how to learn about Douluo Bo's traces through her. In this way, it will be relatively safer to enter the Sunset Forest to obtain the grass jelly. The second spirit ring gives the shadow spirit good attack and speed attributes, and the third spirit ring gives the shadow spirit strong plasticity and ability to change. Lu Baoyang can now be said to be an auxiliary soul master, or a control or agility attack soul master. Despite this, the current strength attribute of the shadow martial soul is still too poor. If you obtain a soul ring that is biased towards strength or sharpness in the 4th soul ring, the shadow martial soul can also have good attack capabilities and powerful attack-type soul skills. But this cannot fundamentally solve the problem. Relying on soul rings to enhance the power or aggressiveness of shadow martial arts will never achieve the optimal effect. In order for the shadow martial spirit to become an existence comparable to the power attack martial spirit, the shadow martial spirit still needs to be fundamentally changed. As mentioned just now, the fairy grass can evolve the Cabello glazed pagoda martial spirit, and perhaps it can also mutate the Jushin Haidang martial spirit. In the same way, if the shadow martial spirit can be transformed by the fairy grass and the ice and fire eyes, it may become more powerful, and the quality of the martial spirit will also be upgraded. By then, the power attributes possessed by the shadow martial spirit should be improved. A huge leap forward, and in this way, it would not be a bad idea to become an attack-type soul master. Immortal Grass is so important to Lu Baoli now. He seems to be able to understand Yang Wudi's desire for the immortal grass of the Paklan, the fragrance of Qi Luo, and he really thinks about it day and night. When he went to bed last night, Lu Haoli dreamed of eating 2 beads of Ice and Fire Immortal Grass and jumping into the Ice and Fire Eyes to practice. In the end, the Shadow Martial Soul evolved, awakened the talent field, and gained the power of the 2 Dragon Kings of Ice and Fire. It was an extremely beautiful dream, but it was a pity that Qin Ming woke it up. After receiving treatment from Yi Lingling, the physical strength of Lu Haoli and others returned to their best condition. Everyone jumped off the soul fighting platform and walked to Qin Ming's side. Lingling, that's great. We defeated teacher Shigao. We don't have to be punished. Oslo was the first to run up to Yi Lingling and said excitedly, I tell you, during the battle just now, if it weren't for if I show mercy, that claw can split teacher Shigao's head open. Why? You didn't expect me to be so powerful, right? Before Yi Lingling could say anything, Shigao knocked Oslo on the head with his finger and cursed. You brat, are you so proud? You still want to split my head open with your little strength? I don't think so. Did you have hallucinations after receiving the increase in attack attributes from Lu Hao? Oslo let out an ouch, holding his head that was hit with pain and staring at Shigao. He wanted to fight back, but was frightened by Shigao's raised fist, and his heart trembled. He shook his head and waved his hands to show weakness. Shui Qingyi smiled faintly and said to Lu Bao, You performed well just now. I'm looking forward to your future achievements. You are a top student. You should make good use of the resources provided to you by the college for free, practice hard, and strive to win the next elite competition. Better performance. Okay. Lu Baoyang responded, thinking that the original book said that the Prince Shui Qingyi in this timeline was disguised by Qian Rinxue and using soulbone skills. He couldn't tell that she was a woman at such a close distance. He probably wanted to see her true appearance, and only when she takes a shower. Canteen. The practical class with Shigao ended in the morning, and it was now lunchtime. The dining hall of Tiando Royal Academy is built at the foot of the mountain, surrounded by green mountains and green waters. In a private room on the 2nd floor of the dining hall, lively conversations could be heard. Hey Lu Bao, don't worry about eating yet. We will be teammates from now on. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Oslo, 16 years old, 34th level agility attack type, fighting spirit master, martial spirit, ghost leopard that everyone calls me leopard. Yu Feng, 16 years old, 34th level agility attack type, war soul master, martial soul, wind chime bird. It doesn't matter what you want to call me, as long as you don't call me Birdman. My name is Shurimo. I am 17 years old. I have a level 36 defense type, fighting spirit. My martial spirit is Xuanwu Turtle. Next to me is my younger brother. His name is Shurimo. I am a level 35 defense type, fighting spirit. My martial spirit is also Xuanwu Turtle. By the way, the teacher who gave us practical instruction in the morning was our father. His name is Shigao, and our father is a level 78 fighting spirit saint, and his strength is second only to the 3 education committee members. I am Yu Tianheng, the captain of the first team. I am 18 years old. I have a martial soul of blue electric Tyrannosaurus. I am a level 38 attack spirit master. As you can see, I come from the blue electric Tyrannosaurus sect. This is the deputy of the first team. Captain Dugayen, martial spirit jade phosphorus snake, is 18 years old like you, a 37th level control type fighting spirit master. Although Yin Yin was not born into a noble family, her grandfather was a senior poison dog who dominated the world. A few years ago, Yin Yan's grandfather was a guest in the royal family before sending her to the academy. In terms of school age, Yin Yin the youngest among us. The other girl's name is Yi Lingling Wuhuan Jushin Haidang, 34th level auxiliary system weapon soul master. We are very hostile to your joining because we are afraid that you will steal Lingling's auxiliary position. After all, she is only 15 now. She is the youngest among us. Everyone regards her as our sister, but she doesn't like to talk and is not good at expressing emotions. We were afraid that she would suffer the consequences of being mute, so we fought for her. We didn't give you a good look before. I'm really sorry, Yu Tianheng said apologetically. If you want any compensation, we will try our best to satisfy you. Chapter 13 Qian Rinxue, we didn't look good on you before. I'm really sorry. As the captain of the first team, Yu Tianheng consciously apologized to Lu Baoyang on behalf of all his teammates. If you want any compensation, we will try to accommodate you. Lu Baoxiao shook his head. These things have come to an end. Now we are a team, so there is no need for compensation. I am very happy to be able to practice, fight, and grow with you all in the future. The gap between Yu Tianheng's 7 people and Lu Baoli was gradually eliminated through everyone's self-introduction. Duguyin no longer showed any dissatisfaction with Lu Baoli. After all, Yu Lingling didn't say anything. If she continued to make trouble unreasonably, it would appear mind your own business. Everyone was eating and drinking, talking freely, but Yu Lingling lowered her head and remained silent. Duguyin saw it all. Even though Yu Lingling was usually taciturn, he could always feel the loneliness in her. But this time it's different. Duguyin knew that the addition of Lu Baolon made Yu Lingling feel more uneasy and entangled. If there was a control soul master in the team who was better than himself, Duguyin would definitely feel this kind of entanglement and uneasiness as well. Instead of always occupying the position, it is better to give it to a teammate who is more useful than yourself and be willing to become a substitute. This should be what Yu Lingling was thinking at this moment. Duguyin understood such emotions, and she did not comfort Yu Lingling, because in her opinion, Yu Lingling was weak on the surface, but had a very strong psychological quality. Every time Dehun was in danger, she was the taciturn person who gave everyone timely treatment and encouragement. How could a person who knows how to encourage others be so vulnerable mentally? Therefore, Duguyin knew that Yu Lingling would figure it out and make the right decision on his own, so there was no need to worry too much. Amidst the excitement, a very pleasant voice suddenly sounded. Well, I have something to say. The hollow sound gives people an unreal feeling. The person who spoke out was Yu Lingling. Lingling, what's wrong? Yu Feng asked. Yu Lingling glanced at his friends, lowered his head before making up his mind, and said, we were able to get full marks in Teacher Shi's practical class this morning. We don't have to be punished, all thanks to Lu Bao's hard work. Everyone is fighting. I watched the battle carefully every time, and with Lu Bao's assistance, everyone seemed to be stronger than before. Everyone stared at Yu Lingling quietly, and the box became eerily quiet. Only the pleasant voice echoed. I was thinking that Lu Bao's auxiliary ability can improve the team's combat effectiveness. In future team battles, he will display his outstanding performance. His role is undoubtedly better than mine. In order to improve the team's winning rate, I think Lu Baobao should become the main player, and I could be a substitute. If I don't have to play, I can also be a foreign aid to treat everyone's injuries. Before Yu Langling could finish speaking, a clear and calm voice sounded. Jushin Hiding Wuwen and Shadow Wuwen both have their own unique features in their assistive abilities. This morning, my assist allowed Yu Tianheng and the others to injuring Teacher Shigao doesn't mean that I'm better than you as a support system. It just means that I happen to be useful. The attention of the 7 people from Yu Tianheng fell on Lu Bao, and it was him who made the sound. Lu Baohai looked at Yu Lingling and said, what if the content of this morning's actual combat was not to injure Teacher Shigao, but to hold on to a stick of incense in his hand? At this time, your 9 hearts and begonia martial spirit can continue to give teammates treat and improve the team's battery life. With your assistance, Yu Tianheng and the others will be able to persist until the stick of incense is burned out. You can also let the team get full marks. Now you know, as auxiliary soul masters, we are both equally good. My shadow martial soul can improve the team fighting ability, and your 9 heart and Sigonia martial soul can increase the vitality of the team. For different opponents, send out different team members participate in the battle, thus forming teamwork with different combat effects. This is the most interesting part of team battles. Yes, what Lu Baoli said is right. Osluo immediately answered. Lingling, don't worry about who is better, who should be the main player or the substitute. Both you and Lu Baoli are very important to the team. Are equally important. They are all equally outstanding. It's just that your uses are different. Yu Lingling hesitated to speak. Influenced by family factors since she was a child, she didn't like to talk and had a withdrawn personality. It is no exaggeration to say that what she just confided to her friends was as much weight as she had spoken in 7 days combined. After listening to Lu Baoyang's story, Yu Lingling felt a little relieved and no longer doubted his ability. He looked at Lu Baoyang and thought about what he wanted to say. After thinking about it for a long time, he just said softly, "Thank you. You're welcome. As long as you can figure it out." After answering, Lu Baolan felt relieved. He didn't want to make others depressed because of his participation. After taking a sip of the drink, Lu Baoli continued, "Also, you should broaden your horizons." Who stipulates that a team cannot have two auxiliary systems as the main force? Yu Tianhing replied, "Auxiliary Soul Masters are very important to the team. At the same time, they do not have combat capabilities and need the protection of their teammates. One more Auxiliary Soul Master in a team battle means less combat power and more worries. Therefore, if conditions permit, the fewer Auxiliary Soul Masters in the team participating in the battle, the better. This is the normal situation, but some teams will send two Auxiliary Soul Masters at the same time." Lu Bao said, "Otherwise, there would be no distinction between the food system and other auxiliary systems in the Soul Master world." Duguyin looked at Lu Baoyan. "It's easy for you to say. The food system Soul Master is a very rare auxiliary system Soul Master. Moreover, how can it be so easy to find a food system Soul Master with outstanding talent?" Lu Baoyan also looked back at Duguyin. "Excellent food type Soul Masters are really hard to find. But don't forget, I am also a very rare auxiliary type Soul Master. The Shadow Martial Soul can put the entire team into the Shadow state, even if he is a purely auxiliary Soul Master and can easily avoid enemy attacks during the Shadow state. He does not need protection at all." "That's right." Shurimo clapped his hands and said in surprise, "In this morning's practical class, Lu Bao could assist us and control the enemy. There are also tricks like position swapping. If he is here, we don't have to separate. Hard to protect Ling Ling. Moreover, Ling Ling can also heal us. With the Shadow State and the treatment of Jirshin Haidang, we can fight without any scruples." "But," Duguyin frowned, "if the two auxiliary departments, Lu Bao and Ling Ling, play at the same time, who should we replace? In a regular team match, only 7 people can play." Everyone fell into deep thought. For a moment, Lu Baoyan looked at Duguyin and said with a smile, "Yinzi, of course I will replace you. I am both an assistant and a controller. So what use do you need?" Hearing this, Duguyin stood up angrily, and his gaze turned into a glare. "Lu Baoyan, am I familiar with you? You are not allowed to call me Yinzi. You said so much. Couldn't you be targeting me intentionally? I am the control system of the team. If I are replaced, who will direct the battle?" Lu Bao responded, "It's me. I'm giving you instructions in the actual battle this morning, and my shadow control is more accurate and powerful than your poison control. At least I won't accidentally injure my teammates." "Oh, really?" Duguyan's somewhat angry face suddenly smiled. Instead of anger, he was happy, and said gloomily, "Since you are so confident in your ability to control, let's have a spirit battle and see. Either your shadow control is powerful, or my jade phosphorus snake poisoned you first. I want you to taste the jade phosphorus poison." Lubadan also stood up and readily agreed. "Come as soon as you come. I also want to learn about the venom of the green phosphorus snake." After the voice fell, both of them stared at each other. The smell of gunpowder was very strong. The two soul power auras in the box began to collide, and the table was shaken by the concussion force generated by the soul power. Yu Qianheng and others did not think that Duguyin was easily angered. On the contrary, they felt that Duguyin was very smart. When Qin Ming spoke so powerfully of Lu Bao in front of Duguyin, Duguyin had long wanted to have a fight with Lu Bao. Fighting spirit. Now that the two had a dispute over control, they could legitimately engage in a fight. To Yu Tianheng's surprise, Lu Baobao agreed so readily to the spirit fight. It seemed that both of them had an agenda. If Lu Baobao is a purely auxiliary soul master, as the captain, Yu Qianheng will definitely stop this spirit fight, but Lu Baobao is still a control soul master. In this case, let them fight. Anyway, there is no shortage of reasons in the academy. Fighting spirits caused by conflicts among students. Tiando Royal Academy noon. The teachers and students had finished their lunch and returned to their respective rooms to rest. The entire Tiando Royal Academy was completely quiet. On the top of the mountain of the college, there is a special building which is at the same height as the education committee and looks a bit like a church. It is where the dean handles college affairs and is also called the Dean's Building. The president of Tiando Royal Academy has always been the emperor. Due to the busy affairs of the Shuya Empire, Prince Shui Qingyi became the acting president. In addition to going to the palace in Tiando City to assist Emperor Shuya in governing the country, Shui Qingyi also must go to Tiando Royal Academy to handle matters within the academy. So he spent 1/3 of his time in the Dean's Building. After handling the affairs of the college with the 3 education committee members, Shui Qingyi returned to the Dean's Building. He did not go to the bedroom to rest, but entered a special room. This is an airtight room with 4 walls. The 4 walls are made of top-quality forging materials. They not only have the effect of isolating breath and sound, but also have amazing defensive power. Even if there is a big explosion in the room, the walls will not be easily destroyed, and people outside the room will not be able to detect any movement. In addition to the 4 walls, the ceiling on the roof is also made of the finest forging materials. The most valuable part of this room is the transparent glass-like ceiling. The material used to cast the ceiling is called light crystal, which is a drop-shaped crystal that is transparent and can absorb sunlight. Thanks to the exquisite forging skills of the blacksmith, the ceiling of the room not only inherits the transparent properties of the light crystal, but also absorbs sunlight and enhances the light and heat energy contained in the light, like the light crystal. If it is a climate with strong sunlight, the ceiling will continue to absorb sunlight, making the room extremely hot and boiling. If an ordinary person is trapped inside, he will be burned to ashes in an instant by the terrifying light and heat energy. There is such a room in the Dean's Building. It is not used to punish students, but is a kind of simulated training place. It is a training environment that Shui Qingyi ordered the blacksmith to simulate based on the energy of the sun. After entering this room, Shui Qingyi took off his disguise, changed back to Qian Rinxue, sat cross-legged, closed his eyes and concentrated, practicing with the enhanced sunlight from the ceiling. During the lurking mission, Qian Rinxue could only rely on mimicry practice to quickly improve her cultivation. Otherwise, if she neglected her practice, her grandfather would definitely be furious. The room can isolate all sounds and breaths, so Qian Rinxue doesn't have to worry about being discovered if she takes off Shui Qingyi's disguise. Moreover, there are 2 titled Douluo and Snake Spear guarding outside the room. Once someone approaches within 100 meters, the 2 titled Douluo will immediately notice and inform themselves. This is also the reason why Qian Rinxue dares to take off her disguise. After a long time, golden soul power burst out from Qian Rinxue's body, filling the entire room with a sacred aura. The soul power has been improved. Qian Rinxue slowly opened her eyes, stood up, and stimulated the flow of soul power in her body with satisfaction. Cultivation with the assistance of the mimetic environment seems to give me the feeling of being by Grandpa's side. The Seraph martial spirit is surprisingly easy to practice, and the angelic light released is purer than before. Chapter 14 Mimicry Practice Mimicry Training refers to simulating the growth environment of the soul beast corresponding to the martial soul, so that the soul master can cultivate his own martial soul in the environment that is most suitable for him. For example, it will be helpful for a plant-type soul master to practice in a forest or a place with many plants. It will also be helpful for a food-type soul master to practice in the atmosphere of a restaurant or kitchen. Fire attribute soul masters practice in volcanoes or high-temperature environments. Thunder attribute soul masters practice in places with strong electric fields, and practice in places that are well matched with martial soul attributes, all of which can have unexpected auxiliary effects on soul masters. One of the very important reasons why Tiando Royal Academy was built in a mountain outside Tiando City was because of the construction of the mimicry training ground. There are rich natural environment resources in the mountains. After classification and classification, Tiando Royal Academy has opened nearly 100 mimicry training sites with these natural environment resources. It has a variety of mimicry training resources. It is also the Tiando Royal Academy. The reason why the college ranks first among many high-end colleges. Qian Rinxue lurked in the Tiando Empire as Shui Qingyi. After being appointed as the crown prince by Emperor Shuya and becoming the acting dean of the Tiando Royal Academy, She took a fancy to the mimetic training environment in the academy. The most suitable environment for the cultivation of Seraphim's martial soul is of course a place full of sacred aura or a place with strong sunlight. The Dean's building is located on the top of the mountain. It is closer to the sun than other buildings. The abundant sunlight and rich natural elements are very suitable for it to be a training ground for the Seraph martial spirit. So Qian Rinxue secretly ordered the senior officials of the martial spirit hall to the blacksmith molded the chamber to absorb the sun's rays. In order to prevent the room from being exposed, the blacksmiths who participated in the construction were secretly silenced by the two Douluo. Practicing the Seraphim martial spirit in this room, full of light and heat energy, will not only rapidly improve the soul power, but also make the properties and aura of the martial spirit more pure. Therefore, although Qian Rinxue's cultivation is slow, it is still much faster than that of ordinary soul masters. Noon is the time when the sun is most intense. Staring at the sun in the sky through the transparent ceiling, Qian Rinxue's beautiful face revealed a hint of helplessness. As a woman, I can only be a woman for a while taking a shower and in this room. Now the time has come for her to transform back into Shui Qingyi and continue her disguise as a man. Qian Rinxue sighed dejectedly. For the sake of Wuhuan Palace's grand plan, she could only endure it. She had been lurking for more than 10 years. So how could she let her years of hard work be ruined just because she suddenly no longer wanted to pretend? Her eyes fell on the shadow at her feet, and Qian Rinxue recalled that among the new students admitted to Tiando Royal Academy this year, there was actually a soul master who used shadow as his martial spirit. His name seems to be Lu Bao. Qian Rinxue reviewed the practical lesson between Yu Tianheng and others and Shi Gao in the morning. I thought to myself, using shadow to fight is both an auxiliary system and a control system, a dual system soul master. The soul masters in the mainland are really full of strange things. What surprised Qian Rinxue was that whether it was the control system or the auxiliary system, Lu Bao showed an astonishing combat awareness and a combat talent that far exceeded other soul masters of the same system. If this person can be used by me, his soul skill that allows people to enter the shadow state to fight will definitely come in handy in future national wars. While thinking about it, Qian Rinxue was already planning what to do next. Qian Rinxue's hidden plan in the Wuhuan Palace was not only to inherit the throne from Emperor Shuye, but also to discover talents in Tiando Royal Academy and gather all the talented soul masters in the academy. In the future, if you take over the position of Pope from that woman and lead the Spirit Hall, you must have capable subordinates. If you can conquer a few talented and powerful spirit masters in the academy to use as pawns, then the time that has been wasted after years of lurking in the academy will be lost. It's worth it. From the perspective of comprehensive ability, Lu Baojun is undoubtedly the best among the current candidates. His shadow belongs to the martial spirit. If there is light, then his shadow martial spirit will always be possessed by the martial spirit. This is the first time I have seen such a weird martial spirit. Qian Rinxue stared at the shadow at her feet, a look of doubt gradually appearing on her face. Her shadow had been different from others since she was born. Other people's shadows are dead, but Qian Rinxue's shadow seems to be alive, as if it is the complete opposite of her. If one is not careful, there will be the danger of the shadow occupying the body and consciousness at any time. Light and shadow are opposites, and they also influence each other. Maybe it's because the Seraph martial soul contains extremely powerful light energy that my shadow is different from others. Just as Qian Rinxue was deep in thought, Snake Spear Douluo, who was guarding outside the room, heard a voice in her head. "Young master, the academy bell has rang and the lunch break is over. You should change back to the identity of the prince. You will be here later. I have to go to the palace to discuss matters with your father." "I know." After replying coldly in his heart, golden light flashed over Qian Rinxue. The next moment, she had transformed from a woman to Shui Qingyi. The father the voice in her head mentioned was of course not referring to her late father Qian Xuanji, but Shui Qingyi's father Shui Yi Emperor. After the lunch break, the bell rang on time, summoning all students to the college's classroom or playground. According to Yu Tianheng, the class this afternoon is about mimicry training, and the class location is at the top of the mountain. It's Lu Liang's first day of school. No, it should be his first day of school as a soul master. Watching the classmates passing by chatting and laughing, Lu Haoli missed the life on Douluo Star again. As a freshman, he had not experienced the coquettishness of his senior sister, had not experienced the trouble of failing a class, and had not experienced the pain of staying up late to study for the final exam when he had a time travel accident and unexpectedly came to Douluo continent. Everything was so sudden and unbelievable, just as it was unbelievable that he was walking with paper figures like Yu Tianheng and Douluo now. How could Lu Haoli have imagined that one day he would live with the characters in anime novels and change from a human in the three-dimensional world to a two-dimensional human? Could this be the legendary dimensionality reduction attack? Under the leadership of Qin Ming, Lu Haoli, and Yu Tianheng walked straight up the stone steps towards the top of the mountain. The air in the mountains was not only fresh, but also very humid. The refreshing feeling quickly made Lu Haoli and others wake up from the fatigue of their lunch break. While rushing on the road, Qin Ming explained to Lu Haoli what mimicry practice was. It is said that mimicry training allows a soul master to cultivate his martial soul in an environment that is most suitable for him. After the soul master's soul power reaches level 30, the effect of mimicry training will be more obvious. Because level 30 is a watershed for a soul master. After breaking through, a soul master will have a more acute sense of energy that is similar to his own attributes. Lu Haoli's shadow martial spirit is not a weapon martial spirit or a beast martial spirit. Shadow is a phenomenon, is the product of light. In places with strong sunlight, the shadow martial spirit will naturally become more active, and Lu Haoli's ability to sense the shadows of various objects will become even better. Therefore, the most suitable place for shadow martial arts training is a place with sufficient light or where there are many shadows. After listening to Qin Ming's explanation, Lu Haoli had a deeper understanding of mimicry training. He remembered that the original book mentioned that Douluo Royal Academy had very rich resources for mimicry training. It happened that his soul power had exceeded level 30, and he was a master of mimicry training. The golden period for the best results. Joining Douluo Royal Academy is really a wise decision. With the help of the mimicry training field, he might be able to reach level 40 before taking the fairy grass, and then he could try to absorb the 10,000-year fourth soul ring, just like the original Tang San did. When he thought that he was about to reach the peak of his life, Lu Haoli began to fantasize about what kind of title he should give himself after becoming a titled Douluo. Everyone came to the top of the mountain. The college's main campus and dormitories are halfway up the mountain, while the education committee and dean's building, as well as the branch campus, are at the top of the mountain. Mimicry training areas are mainly located at the top of the mountain, at the foot of the mountain, and also by the lake. Qin Ming brought 7 people, Lu Haoli and Yu Tianheng, to the mimicry training area on the top of the mountain because all the mimicry venues suitable for them to practice were on the top of the mountain. Whenever it rains and thunders, the lightning-inducing device cast on the top of the mountain will store the lightning and form an electric field. Yu Tianheng's martial spirit is the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is a beast martial spirit with thunder attributes. So places with strong electric fields are very suitable for him to practice. Douluo Yan's martial spirit is the jade phosphorus snake, a poisonous beast martial spirit. The most suitable place for her to practice is a mist forest surrounded by a protective wall on the top of the mountain. The air inside is turbid and contains a large amount of fine particles and toxic substances. There is another forest with animals in captivity on the top of the mountain, which is suitable for soul masters with beast martial arts to practice in. Oslo's martial soul is the ghost leopard, Yu Feng is the wind chime bird, and the graphite stone mill is the basalt turtle. They're all suitable there. Practice. Yi Lingling's martial spirit is Jiuxin begonia, which can be practiced in a forest or a place with many plants, or in a sunny place. The top of the mountain is the place closest to the sun. It has plenty of light, and there are also various plants and shadows of buildings. Qin Ming looked at Lu Haoli and said, "This is a very suitable place for you to practice. The practice is very simple, and there are other things in the mimicry field. While students are practicing, you can just find a place where no one is around to meditate. During the process of meditation, you can't just care about the flow of soul power in the body. You must also amplify your spirit and try to sense the surrounding light energy and the shadow of objects. In this way, you can also cultivate martial arts while cultivating soul power. Specific methods you can ask Yi Lingling. Chapter 15 Jade Phosphorus Snake Venom. How to practice in the mimicry field. You can ask Lingling for specific instructions. Qin Ming's eyes fell on Yi Lingling and asked, Lingling, you and Lu Haoli are practicing in the same mimicry field. The teacher will also go to other mimicry fields to practice later, so he can't follow you all the time. What's wrong with Lu Haoli then? Where he understands, you still need to guide him. Yi Lingling nodded slightly. I understand. Qin Ming said with a smile. Also, you two are the auxiliary soul masters of the team, so you can take advantage of the time of training together to strengthen your relationship. When the relationship develops, whoever goes on stage first in the team battle will not have to share the points. So clear. This time it was Lu Haoli who nodded. Yi Lingling did not refuse such an arrangement, and Lu Haoli had no reason to refuse. He also wanted to deepen his relationship with Yi Lingling. However, Osluo and Yu Feng shook their heads at the same time. They had a lot of good impressions of Yi Lingling. Years of getting along and fighting together had turned this good impression into a kind of like. How could they agree to let the person they liked develop a relationship with Lu Haoli? What if there is another love rival? Teacher Qin, my ghost leopard martial spirit is the same as Lingling's nine-hearted begonia martial spirit. It also needs to be cultivated in a place with sufficient sunshine and many plants. Oslo rushed to say, you don't know something. My ghost leopard's martial soul has actually mutated into a martial soul and turned into a herbivore, eating only vegetarian food. Therefore, it is very fast to practice in places with many plants. I can also practice with Lingling. Hearing this explanation, even Yu Feng, who shared his heart and mind, shook his head and thought to himself, Leopard, can you find a worse excuse? Everyone, please stop making trouble. You are now in the golden period of cultivation, and practicing hard is the main thing. Qin Ming patted Oslo on the shoulder and said, don't you all want to become the youngest soul emperor in the history of the mainland? I believe you can do it, but the premise is that you can't neglect your practice. Hurry up and practice in a mimic field that suits you. The teacher is also going to practice. After giving instructions, Qin Ming walked down the stone steps and walked down the mountain. He also needs to use the mimic field to assist him in his training, the Wuhuan Fiery Sanglong. The most suitable training place is of course the area at the foot of the mountain that is built to simulate a volcano. Watching Qin Ming's retreating figure, Dugu Yan's eyes fell on Lu Baoyan and said with a sinister smile, LV Baoan, remember our agreement. Let's have a spirit battle in the
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.